Okay, I think we are live. Let's see if I can invite people. Coach is coming. I don't know if you can hear me, but yeah, Coach is coming. I am going to go delete the other Facebook Live in just a second. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone, because this is the first time I've ever done one of these things. Here we go. And it's not really clear how to share other things, so Coach should be here in just a second. And we do have a special guest, so we're going to start recapping. I'm going to wait for Coach just to start recapping everything, but anyone who's here, thank you for joining. It's great to have you. And I'm just editing some of the links that I shared out. Here we go. Oh yeah, we did lose John. Sorry about this technical difficulty stuff. Hopefully Coach can join soon. If not, I'm just gonna go and just start talking about trade talks. Probably in the next 2 minutes. So we'll go from there. Oh, hey, music and mental health. It's good to see you. I don't know how to put people's. Let's see if this works. Okay, there we go. I did actually replace the to James. I did actually replace the URL, so that's already been fixed. So that's good. Okay, we have our first guest here.
There we go.
Okay, everyone's here. Everyone's here. So there's no. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. So welcome to you guys to my channel, I guess, even though we've been talking for a bit. Really quickly, this is Basketball Rewind, everyone. My name is Kenyon, and I've done a couple of videos here, and we're just here to kind of recap the trade deadline, but we're going to start from Monday, where the big shoe dropped with Kyrie Irving. But before I get into that, and before I introduce my guest, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Go ahead, Coach.
I guess I'm Coach Roach.
Yeah.
I'm on some podcasts, the To the Point podcast. I've been on with Kenyon a few times on Basketball Rewind. It's good to be back on the trade deadline and talking about what all's going on in the NBA and what's going on with the Raptors, the good, the bad, the ugly.
It's been a wild week for sure. And then this is Beyond the Locker Room. I actually don't know your name, but we will exchange pleasantries probably after. Oh,
yes, Brian. I used to do some videos
nice.
way back then. Just like Coach, you'll find me on Twitter and, maybe a few other places in the future. Raptors Live TV. I'm always on the post games on that. So it's a pleasure to be on here with you guys today, chopping it up.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll start with the the funnest one of all, the non-fun guy for some people, or the most fun guy, which is Kyrie Irving. What do you guys think of the trade?
Coach, I'll give you the honors first.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was shocked that Dallas would make a deal for Kyrie. The Kyrie and Luka fit's going to be interesting to see. Kyrie does have a history of playing with someone, who can play a similar style. LeBron is, he's better athlete, better defender and stuff like that. But Kyrie's won a chip. Luka hasn't done that yet. And I think he can bring that valuable experience to the Dallas Mavericks. And they're just going to be a team. They're going to have to outscore everybody they play. I don't know what the defense is going to look like. They lost their best defender in Finney Smith. But what Kyrie can add, and with Luka Doncic, I think that's a team you want to go see play. You want to see Kyrie play. You want to see Luka play. If Kyrie can just, show up, play basketball
for 4 months.
For 4 months, that's kind of what he does best. As long as he does that, that's all you can really ask for, I guess, in that regards. I do think there'll be a top 6 seed in the West. I think they do have enough. There's definitely enough talent there now. But now it's going to be up to Jason Kidd just to put it all together and just see what you got. This is a bit of a tryout, even in a respect for Kyrie. But it's also to see, how does Luka play with someone that's also ball dominant? And can they coexist?
Good points. And Beyond?
Well, for pure transparency, I've always been a Mavericks fan. So long before I was a Raptors fan. So they call me a little old school in that sense. My teams were Detroit and Dallas, so I got a fondness for those two teams. I would say when the deal went down, I wasn't that surprised actually, because I think Dallas has been so desperate. I think we had some spaces before when Dallas came to town. This situation smells a lot like Cleveland the first time with LeBron, where they are just so desperate to make sure they do everything they can so they don't have that scenario play out for them. So the patience right now with Luka and them it's been a rocky relationship, to say it lightly at times. And I think they know that how this season has started, Christian Wood was not going to satisfy things. Let's put it that way. They needed something big. And, sometimes, you pick up, certain situations that come your way and you just go for it. And I think it was a desperation move. They figured, what the heck do we have? We don't have the assets to get anything else. This might be the best chance we get someone with that type of talent. So see how it works out. I would say just on the observation on the first night, I just talking a bit of this with Coach just now, is that the first thing I must admit, I don't remember the last time I seen Dallas play that fast. It was just eye popping how fast they were playing, how the ball was popping and moving. So, whatever you want to say about Kyrie, that is one of the things that I remember Zach Lowe would give him credit. He's the one that mentioned this the day it happened. So one thing he said that Kyrie doesn't let the balls just sit. He's ready to go up and down the court, which is true. And I think a lot of guys enjoyed playing with him because of that, because they were getting like easier and faster and cheaper baskets that maybe, as great as Luka is, it ends up in some ways his slower pace ends up making it more difficult for guys that are not as talented as him to get shots off. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how it plays out, not just how they share the ball, but the different styles of play that each of them actually contribute. It could be a bit of a split personality when they're off the court with each other. That's going to be fascinating to see. So,
yeah, I'm wondering if it's going to be similar to how I'm not saying that they're going to go to the championship, but when the Raptors were playing and the Raptors were doing their chip run, there was kind of, until I want to say the Bucks series where they finally came together, there was kind of a split personality, like you were saying, where there's, the team's offense and there was Kawhi's offense. It seems like there might be a sort of a Kyrie offense and a Luka offense. At the same time, this might actually force Luka to play defense because he has his offensive load taken off him a little bit. So that's kind of nice. I'm just quickly looking at West standings. We're gonna. I know we've had a little bit of this conversation before, but actually not all of us. But one of the things that is interesting is a lot of the Western teams don't really seem to have a lot of defenders. You look at the Kings, they missed out on Matisse Thybulle, and we'll get to that transaction later. The Nuggets they have some defenders, but really it's just a lot of offensive juggernauts aside from the Grizzlies. So I'm wondering how you think that factors in with the the upcoming playoffs. And I'm going to go in reverse order now, beyond.
Ooh, this is interesting because Dallas, I think, is in a bit of the same boat as like Memphis and some of the other teams like New Orleans, where they don't really have a big wing really per se that could actually play with some of the teams. It's strange because some of the guys are at the bottom of the playoff mix, like LA, the two LA teams. The Clippers are like third or fourth. They kind of swing. I mean, so it changes. So it's so much in flux every day. Someone could be in third one day, it could be eighth the next day. But the two LA teams, also to the let's see who else I'm looking at. Phoenix in this case here as well. Anyone has big wings in this case, I think that's still going to be a problem for Dallas in this case here. That's why they were so much wanting to get OG. I don't know how much like Josh Green could help with that. Like, I mean, he's playing really well, but I don't like. He's still green in this case here, no pun intended, but like he's not it in this case where they start playing those type of teams. So like that's but their offensive potency is going to be a real problem for certain teams. That's going to be an issue for a lot of teams. Like the Clippers were having their hands full last night, and they tried everybody on. Like they had Kawhi DM up at one point, and he hit some incredible shots over him. Like I was like, oh my gosh! Like so, like when he's got going, man, like that's gonna be. And we know Luka and the Clippers are in their history. They don't want no part of that. So that there's certain matchups that I know certain teams just don't want any part of, and I think the Clippers, when it comes to Dallas, is a matchup they don't want to see.
I think they're actually, if Dallas was one game better, ignoring the loss column, they would actually technically be playing the Clippers today.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying.
In the playoffs.
Now, it could be like a completely reverse. Like it's so difficult to figure out the seeding at this point. So,
yeah. And Coach,
I kind of like what Beyond said, where there definitely will have their struggles, like with the Phoenix, the Clippers, but I think Dallas has the best guards in the league right now. All of them. I mean that Luka, Kyrie, Hardy, Josh Green, Hardaway Jr., like all of them kind of on one team, top to bottom. They're going to be guard driven, like Beyond said earlier. They're going to get out and run, and that's going to be their strength and hit shots. My concern with them, they're bigs. I'm concerned about McGee. I'm concerned about Powell, Christian Wood, talented offensively.
Right.
Defensively, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I've watched enough games to know that he's not Hakeem Olajuwon. We'll just put it that way. And I do think Dallas, though, is missing some when they lost Finney Smith, there's that defensive element that they've lost, and that's going to hurt them in the long run. That's why they have to score 130 points a night to win a basketball game. And that pressure that pressure though to score that much is going to put pressure on the other team to have to score 131. So it can work. Yeah. It can work both ways in that regards. So they're going to have some issues against the Phoenix. They're going to have some issues against the Clippers, Memphis with their size when they're healthy. The Pelicans, even with like a Zion and Valanciunas. So I think they'll have some problems there. But if they get out and run and get out in transition, spot up, shoot, I think that's going to be their ticket for them to win.
I think so. I mean, Phoenix will be the most interesting thing. Again, we'll get to that in a second, but I agree with both of you. Really quickly, just to get back to a comment that was said before, James put this up, and it's interesting because I heard a commenter, not the typical tuber that people talk about, but NBA Chev, and he mentioned an interesting point about Kyrie Irving, and basically, it is kind of weird that the second that they kind of got whooped by Boston, I think that was the last game that he played. Literally the next day he demanded a trade. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I 100% agree that like that's what prompted it, but they were definitely going to have problems in getting through the East, and so I can see he has jumped ship before when things aren't looking great on two different teams. So it'll be interesting to see. Exactly. So yeah, it will be interesting. Okay, so
just one thing on Kyrie. A story that no one really talks about with him is his history. When you go down all the different things. Is when he decided to take the surgery in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, and he wasn't there for the game. Like, no one talks about that one anymore against the Boston Cleveland. It kind of gets wallpaper because of so much other stuff. But, like, I remember when that happened, I was like, wait, let me get this straight. You're not even on the bench, at least in this case here. For Game 7, your team might be going to the finals. And that was a bit of an indictment considering the two teams that were playing each other, which was really bad for him. It's like, okay, your actual team that went on a run without you in the entire playoffs. And then the team you left in this case is in the playoffs playing against them in the Eastern Conference Finals without you. So it was like, that was a shot in the ego that day, man.
The one thing that's interesting is they did get back a defensive forward, although he's a little older. So what do you think about Morris for Dallas? He's a little older.
Yeah, like I mean, like, and he's not even like I mean, like he's okay, but like to say your point, he's older. Like if you have like a big in this case here, and you want to play small ball, you probably get away with it a little bit. But like if he's actually playing like quicker wings, he can't play Morris out there with those guys. Like in theory, he sounds like he could do it, but like in actuality, it's not the case. He's probably playing as a small ball 5 at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll go through a couple more. Sorry, you were going to say?
He's not Marcus.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I didn't want to say. I lose track sometimes of which one's which, But yeah, he's not even. Yeah, he's not the better of the two. So I thought it was that one.
I keep mixing them up sometimes myself. So it's good to know. I mean, I guess hypothetically they could just take a plane and switch jerseys midway through, and no one would be the wiser. So that's one way they could do it.
That's true. They probably could get away with that. Actually, I mean, besides their parents, but I don't think anyone else will really figure out it's them. So
yeah, exactly. I'm gonna just kind of rapid fire through some of these things. So because they're not as important. So like the Dwayne Dedmon deal. That was more of a salary dump. I don't think we have to really talk about that, but he had issues with the Heat recently, and I think he was kind of done. Kings getting Kessler Edwards. It's interesting, but he's had a very down year. Again, another salary dump. So I'm kind of skipping through some of these things that were not quite as interesting as I guess the last 24 hours. So I guess my question is, we will definitely talk about the Raptors. But before we get to the Raptors, where do you guys want to take it? Because I'm looking at all these deals. We can kind of also probably skip over Houston. But I was wondering if you wanted to talk about Orlando and what they did today first.
Coach, I don't know if you want to go with Orlando. Like, they're an interesting team. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll let you jump in first. I got my thoughts, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say about Orlando.
I'm more curious about the Lakers side of that Orlando deal with Bamba.
I am too.
I don't
Fair
know
enough.
I don't know if I really have, like, I know they added Pat Bev and stuff like that, but
They did.
I guess I'll say this. For a team that is trying to get into the play-in, which I think is wise for them to do, because they have enough young talent now, I don't think they did enough.
Right.
I would agree. They seem torn a little bit. Like it seems like almost like they do want to go and try to go for it and get in that play in, but at the same time they almost feel nervous about giving up any of their young assets in this case, their young players. And I think you can feel the tension almost in the trade itself, where it's like, we're trading Mo Bamba, but we're not going to go all the way in. We'll just go with Pat Beverly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, really? Right?
It felt like a half measure to me. Like they didn't really truly go for it like they would have.
We know what the full measure would be, but we will talk about another later on, right? That's the full measure.
No. We will definitely talk about the full measure. But yeah, what was interesting to me as a takeaway from this entire trade deadline, and I was talking to a different friend about this, is the value of second round picks, because I think that there's only so many first round picks to be had right now. Though the value of those second round picks seem to now have value. They've now gone up in value because that's the only trade chip that you have when, only a couple. True. They did get rid of Bamba. So it's one thing where you're looking at it, and I was surprised to see like 5 second rounders in this deal and 3 second rounders. You lost track of it. It was like they were literally taking change from their pocket and just chucking it out. And that was kind of funny. So, you know what? Well, I think everyone wants to talk about the Lakers end of the deal. Before I get to Mo Bamba, are you surprised that the Lakers traded Thomas Bryant, given how good he has been?
At first you think of it, yes, he has played well, but if you try to maximize Anthony Davis and LeBron, the Mo Bamba is a better fit, and he could give you some perimeter shooting. He still could give you some shot block. He's not, but he's not a big body like Bryant, so he's going to hurt against certain teams. Like, if you happen to run into Denver, for example, you really have no body to lean on Jokic in this case here, because Mo Bamba's not going to get that done. But offensively, to me, it looks like the Lakers try to maximize as many players as they can from an offensive standpoint.
Right.
How can we supercharge this offense as much as possible? I mean, if you look at all the deals, with the exception maybe of the Vanderbilt part of it, which is a sneaky good part of it too, because then it takes a little pressure off of LeBron playing any sort of wings in this case. You can just put him on there. So they did everything that was really nice. Overall, I thought the Lakers had one of the best days today. Like, I really thought the Lakers turned themselves. I'm not sure where they rank in the Western Conference. They had to reload today, but they could be in the top 5 teams based on the roster, how it looks right now. They're not as good as Denver. They're not as good as obviously we'll get the Phoenix, but I wouldn't say that, and I wouldn't say they're as good as the Clippers probably still. But then
what's interesting is, I was just gonna say what's interesting is they have a long way to go to get up there too.
Yeah,
but sorry, continue.
But no, but I mean that's the thing, right? Like, if they get in that bottom half and they somehow get to 7 or 8. If they're playing Sacramento, if they're playing Memphis, is anyone feeling they're going to put down money up from their they're put down put down money in this case here to go against the Lakers against Sacramento and Memphis? Like, really? You really want to take that bet? Like, I don't know if I feel good with that bet. Going 7 games with LeBron with Memphis, it's still green, and Sacramento's never been there for like over a decade.
Yeah, certainly not ideal.
No,
Coach.
Yeah,
I loved what the Lakers did. This is a terrific trade deadline for them. I think they really got some more NBA pieces back, quite frankly. I agree with Beyond. Bamba's a better fit because I didn't understand why they would trade Thomas Bryant. I know he wanted out, but I'm like, so what you want out? Like he's a very valuable piece to them right now. And then when they brought in Bamba, well, okay, that makes more sense. Bamba's a little bit bigger, little more athletic. Bamba can stretch the D, shoot the 3 and stuff like that. And like Beyond said too, Vanderbilt and Beasley, especially Beasley, you put him on the floor with LeBron. Like the theory, the playbook with LeBron is let's surround him with shooters and defenders. They kind of got that today, and yesterday too with the Russell deal as well. So I got to give the Lakers like an A- on their trade deadline. Yeah. I give them an A+, but I give them an A-, and that's a very good trade deadline for them. Like they're trying to help LeBron and AD out right now. I'll say some more LeBron because, well, we never know with AD. Is he playing one day or he's in street clothes the next day.
Exactly. So AD can help out by just staying on the floor in this case and just do that.
Just pretty
much. Well, and the thing for me is that this whole trade deadline, if you go all the way back to Rui, they got a little bit younger too, which is interesting. And that's something that I think that was a really good decision is they got help, but they got young help so that they still have flexibility to do things in the future without LeBron, right? Because LeBron someday is going to leave, go play with Bronny and I think Bryson, and when that happens, it's like, okay, well now what, right? And so the fact that they kind of rebuilt their team in a sense on the fly, sorry Westbrook, is pretty good. The next thing is obviously the Clippers. So I'm just kind of going in reverse order, but the Clippers with Bones Highland. We knew Bones Highland was going to get the heck out of there. Hey, Raptor Dan, nice to see you. And also, actually, I should go back just a second. I agree with James, actually. I'm not a big fan of Mo Bamba. As you guys know, I was kind of iffy, but at the end, I was like, oh, if that's all we can get, then I'm fine with it. So I'm kind of glad that he's not on the Raptors. That's just me. But yeah, Bones Highland. When I saw his family came out on Twitter and said all of those things about Jamal Murray, you knew it was over. You knew he was gonzo. So, in my mind, after that, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Clippers, I don't know what the Clippers are doing. The Clippers, like, honestly, I mean, every deadline, they say they have like almost a competition to try to get the most players as possible. Like, it's like I have no clue. Like, okay, so I get it in some ways that, okay, your point guard situation is not where you want it to be. Fine. So you get rid of Reggie Jackson and you move off a Wall, which that's probably the craziest move of the day. I don't understand. Like, poor Wall. Wall's like, no, not again.
Yeah.
What I do to deserve this? I'm sure he'll get, they'll have the payout, but just the fact he has to go through that indignity one more time with Houston. But like, I guess I'm just wondering, like, they have a whole bunch of dudes in this case here. It's like they all can't play when it gets to playoff time. At some point, you have to kind of, will it down a little bit. They're trying to hedge your bets a little bit. They're like, okay, we need enough depth for the times wherever, we know Kawhi's going to get hurt. So we need the depth for that. But then what ends up doing is, like, it ends up having a bunch of guys that are unhappy sitting on the end of the bench.
Yes.
When everyone is back in full strength again. So, like, I don't know, man. It's like, they in some ways I do like what they did, but at the same time, still wondering how you manage these parts when you get the playoffs. And Ty Lue's great, but it does give a bit of a problem in the playoff time to see how many guys you can get minutes for, and which he does have. I guess you can look at the other way. He does have options now that if something's not working, he could flip the switch and try something different. So I guess you could look at it the other way. But overall, they did. I mean, for a couple of second round picks, I would take a flyer on Bones. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, the Bones move I can understand. They just want some guard help.
Mm-hmm.
Mason Plumlee, I know Kenyon has heard me say about Mason Plumlee before. Beyond, I don't know if you have or not. Maybe you have.
I think you mentioned it one time, but I can't remember. But I know you had some little story with Plumlee.
I know. I figured he might not cost us a first round pick, cheap option, stuff like that. But anyway, that's in the past now. But
was it you said can't stand watching him play?
No, I don't think it was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, don't worry, it wasn't me. It wasn't me either.
Yeah. The only move from the Clippers I don't understand is Eric Gordon. You already have enough guys like him on. You get Norm, now you got Bones. They did get rid of Reggie Jackson. I did see that. So they just swapped out a few players for the same players, kind of in a sense. But I think the Clippers. Look, they got Kawhi and Paul George, and now they have Zubac and Plumlee. They're set up pretty good top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
If Kawhi is playing like he is, and he continues to play, they're going to be a contender. Well, I mean, really, it's championship or bust for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. The way they make trades is it almost represents it kind of personifies their owner. It's very manic in some ways to me. We're just gonna get everybody. It's like the combustion is like, and it feels like Ballmer all over it. When I see the trade deadline happen and the Clippers do what they do, it feels like it has Ballmer's fingerprints all over these moves. Like he's like yelling down the hallway for someone, do something now. It's like, okay. They're all scrambling at their desk. Who can we trade for? That's what it feels like to me with the Clippers all the time.
It does. He's very grandiose.
Yes,
that's what he is. I know he's a billionaire or stuff like that, but it's like he's like, what? The electric tax is $200 million. Who cares? I'll pay it. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he wants that championship. He's got a stadium that's, I don't even know how much it's worth. I mean, how much he spent on it already. Like, he wants a winner in there.
Yeah,
he does, and he kind of needs to, because if I'm not mistaken, did they move this year, or is it next year that they move into their new?
I think next year they move. Is it next year?
Yeah. So they need to win. But Raptors Dan asked a really good question, and sorry, I just saw James. They tried to order a guard on Amazon. That's great. So Raptors Dan asked about this. We will get to the Raptors in full, but let's talk about it. So I guess it's tough because whenever you get a guy like Highland and Garland, it's if I'm not mistaken, when you get a guy so close to the trade deadline, you can't send them out for at least X amount of months. I believe it's 2 months before being able to combine them with salaries. So it's tough because were they saying, okay, we're going to get Terrence Mann and actually send him out or whatever? I don't know. But it is a good question. What was interesting about this trade deadline is you saw certain salaries go. And then once those salaries were gone, you're like, okay, there's another suitor gone for, a Raptor or for whatever the deal may be. So that's one thing. Really quickly before I get you guys in on this, I'll just quickly skip past the. Do you mind if we skip past the Pacers moves?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, your guys' thoughts, Coach. I'll punch you in first.
On Raptors Dan's question here.
Yep.
I don't know. It's not so much them to the Raptors. I just don't know if the Raptors would want them. Maybe an Eric Gordon. After what had come out about Bones Highland and Jamal Murray, the Raptors aren't getting involved with that. So I really don't see. I couldn't see Fred going for both of those guys. I could see Eric Gordon coming here in a smaller deal. I mean, he would have been a really nice piece to have in off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping for something like that, but one can only hope so much, I guess. Sometimes we just have to be hopeful, right?
Well said.
Good one.
Well
Good
said.
one. Beyond.
It was kind of painful to watch how this trade deadline went, because every time you saw another player that was kind of rumored deals, it's like, oh, you just kept kind of, your imaginary tick board was going off. It's like, there goes another chance down the drain. But specifically about the Clippers, though, the more you look at it, Fred would be a really good fit for them, actually. And I know they didn't want to move off of Terrence Mann, and I get that in this case here, even though I got to ask myself, I'm the Clippers, man. It's Terrence Mann when it's all said and done. Like, really? This is what we're doing? Like, you got Kawhi maybe with a year or two left in what you consider his prime because of his injuries. Paul George not much further away. And if you end up not winning a championship, could the turning point be that you decided to hold off on not getting Fred VanVleet to help you get a championship because of Terrence Mann?
I was thinking the same thing, Beyond. I'm just thinking Masai's obviously going to ask for Terrence Mann. Why wouldn't he? Anybody would. And they didn't see how Fred, with his experience, wouldn't be valuable with that team.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah, and the thing is too, it's not like the Clippers have like a whole bunch of young talent. Like it's not like the Pelicans or even Memphis, where it's like, okay, you got another generation of guys coming up that will be kind of take over the reins. It's a pretty old team. There's not a lot in the cupboard, when it comes to young players for the Clippers. When you look there, I mean, Coffee, but like he's he's not. I don't think he's as young as people think too. Like both he and Mann are in their mid-20s. Like, so they're not even that young really when it's all said and done. Like, so
even Terrence Mann's like 26.
That's what I'm saying. He's 26. And I think Coffee, I can't remember how old he is, but he's not much younger than he is. Like, so like it's not like they got like some phenom 22-year-old or something like that, and a couple of them sitting on the bench, even like how Golden State has. So like I wasn't sure what are we doing here? If either you're in or you're not in, and it's like I think that's what frustrates sometimes, especially top players, when it's like, be it LeBron with the quote draft picks for, grade 9 and grade 10s later on or wherever it might be, or this situation with Terrence Mann, where guys like Paul George and like, Kawhi is like, really, this is what we're doing? Because I like Terrence, I like Terry, but I can't believe we're not doing this. Especially a guy like Kawhi who knows what Frank could bring.
Yes.
Like, that's gonna be frustrating.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, Kawhi and Norm know firsthand what Fred could have done for that, especially the way Fred's been playing the last month or so. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure Masai wanted more, and rightfully so, but I'm kind of shocked the way that it was written in the article was, though they didn't want to give up Terrence Mann. Well, who else? You got to give us somebody.
Right.
Yeah, like what were they going to do? Trade us John Wall? And by the way, I do have an interesting thing later, because I do see some of the potential buyout candidates as good options for the Raptors if they are picking if this is what we got as a team. But the next set of moves, we've skipped past the Lakers because who cares? Was I guess actually I'm gonna hold off on the biggie for a second, but Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder went for 5 seconds or whatever. A lot of pocket change. Either way, it indicates to me that the Bucks are all in on this season and they want to get Giannis another chip. So I thought that was really interesting. And that's really the only thing that I see. And he's kind of a little bit of a PJ Tucker replacement. I don't know if you guys have anything more to add to that. If not, we can just keep it moving to the more interesting Lakers move. in just a second, and it's interesting because of the drama surrounding it.
Right. I think I was shocked they would take 5 seconds to get Jay Crowder. I figured maybe 2, maybe 3 at the very most, but the whole trading world is like upside down when it comes to picks ever since this Gobert trade. I just hope that it kind of stabilizes one day where it goes back to kind of the way it was, because you're going to see like just a few teams in the next few years will only have the picks.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting there. I've lost track of how many picks it is until OKC has no more picks. But I remember reading a couple. This was maybe like a year or two ago. They had something like over 20 to 30 picks over the next like 5 years or something. So at some point, you have too many picks. Even last year, they were getting to the point where they were having to trade away guys at the draft. Because they just, there's not enough roster spots for these guys to develop them or to do whatever. And the NBA isn't set up like, other leagues like the NHL or whatever, where you can kind of just still maintain control, but send them and truly send them to the development league. I mean, we'll see what happens with the next CBA with that, but conversation for another day. Really quickly, the most interesting trade for me was Malik Beasley ending up as a Laker because of Scottie Pippen Jr.'s Scottie Pippen Jr. being on the Lakers.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that come across. I think Barstool Sports posted that. It's like, oh, we completely forgot about that.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, awkward.
Yeah, we don't have to go in depth on it, but
quite the family reunion. Just leave it at that, right?
Yeah, it'll be quite the family reunion for sure. You shoot the three, go like this, and then who's your daddy, right? And then you keep it going.
Oh, yeah.
Did they have this in mind?
All but I saw Barstool Sports posted that. I was like, oh, geez, that's gonna get really awkward in the locker room. But
yeah. Lakers are always have a flair for the dramatic. So yeah. Just really quickly before we continue, Raptors Dan posted this. So basically, I would go for Kevin Love as a potential buyout candidate. The shooting plus experience would be great for the Raptors. He would be great. I don't know if and I'll get to the question in a second, Raptors. And I don't know if they want to buy him out. I guess that's the question, because he really bought in last year. So I don't really see, and he was great in their locker room. So I don't see them buying him out. Cleveland, that is. I don't know if you guys see Cleveland buying out Kevin Love or have heard anything different.
I don't see it. I think like you said, Kevin Love bought in last year. They have the best defense in the league right now, Cleveland, and it makes sense with Mobley and Allen and stuff like that. I think Kevin Love does give them something that they don't have, and if they lose it, they're just going to try to replace Kevin Love. And why do that when he's already bought in? If he did become a buyout candidate, I agree with Raptors, Dan. We'd have to get rid of some of our redundancy, I guess I'll put it that way, so we can have someone who can actually shoot a little bit from behind the three. So it's a decent suggestion, though.
For sure. And before, so just to quickly go back to this, basically Malik Beasley is now reportedly has been photographed and has even, I think, officially is dating Scottie Pippen Jr.'s mother. So
that's been for a while, though.
It has been for a while, but still, it's weird if it's your teammate, right?
No two ways about that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean that situation's been going on for a while, so maybe that's the only good thing about it. Everyone knows where everyone's at in this case, so
exactly.
No surprise at this point.
It is what it is at this point,
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Either way, he can get ride. They could do ride shares from the arena much more easily now.
Oh man.
And Raptors Dan, don't worry about asking too many questions. That's what the chat's about. That's what this live's about. So it's great. And again, like I mean, we're gonna go on for a little bit more, but definitely ask as many questions. And it is super fun to have everyone here. Thanks for you guys actually joining me live, and thanks for the I guess we only have 4 right now, but anyone who checks in, it's greatly appreciated. First live ever, never done one of these things, so I'm having fun at least. Okay, what about Danny Green really quickly? He's probably a good bio candidate, but he's just coming back from an ACL tear. I mean, if he's coming back for the Raptors, I guess, but like he's probably better than Bo Cruz, I guess. But I think that there are other buyout candidates that I have in mind, which I will get to in a second. All right, Timberwolves. They got one of the guys that I wanted the Raptors to go for. And I just skipped the Westbrook thing because we knew that was going to be done.
We already know where that's going.
So if you guys really want to do in-depth analysis on that, that's fine. But I'm good. I'm good. So I guess the nice thing is that the Wolves got a little bit of recouped some of their assets, which is nice. What was strange to me is I thought that Conley was going to end up as a Laker, not as a Wolf. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, I think, you know what? When you think about it a little bit more, it's not that weird because don't forget, like last year, Minnesota tried to get some version of that. They took a crazier version of it, which was Patrick Beverley, but they wanted some type of guy in the locker room as a kind of a senior voice. And right. I think this team is always looking for that, considering the personalities you're dealing with. So to have a guy Conley who's like a grown man in the room, you know, with a team like this, I think it makes perfect sense, which is the reason why I kind of liked him for Toronto in some ways. I remember everyone was talking about, well, what about, there's this little talk for a day or two what Chris Paul is like. I was like, no, I prefer the less abrasive version of it and get Conley instead.
Yeah, I really liked Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He was someone where I thought he was going to get rerouted to us for. I was hoping for Flynn in a second. It didn't quite happen. It did not happen. But also the musical chairs in the NBA ended up full circle with D'Angelo Russell back as a Laker. That was interesting. That
was a trend all day, though. That was a trend all day.
Yeah,
all day. Pirtle, John Wall.
True.
You just mentioned that one there with the last one you had. There's about 2 or 3 other ones where it's like, oh, they just went right back to where they came from. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Who else?
Eric Gord back to the Clippers. John Wall back to Houston.
Yeah.
Pirtle back to the Raptors.
Yeah, there's a couple others.
I feel like they're.
But I can't remember. But
there was definitely some interesting ones.
Yeah. Where it's like all day you kept getting these things where it's like, oh, it's like, someone used to be playing for the team, they're now back with the team again. It's like, oh wow. It's like, okay. It's like, I don't know. It's like a retro day or something. I don't know what was going on, but it kept popping up.
So this is interesting. I do think I was actually thinking about this. So good point, Dan, Raptors Dan. I don't know if he will or won't, because I don't really believe in Rudy Gobert's offensive game. But what I will say is that they have played together. That does help. I think Conley overall is playing better. I mean, I don't know how much gas he has left in the tank, but he is a better fit for them right now today than the guy that just went out. So I see the Wolves being better. By how much, I don't know. I know at the beginning of the season, Ant was actually struggling with his defense, and then that was opening up the seams. And then when you also have another defensive liability and you're putting it all on Rudy Gobert, not to say that because I'm not a big Rudy Gobert fan, you're going to struggle, right? And so it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. But I think that they have a chance to do something interesting because they do have a coach that actually who actually does do some interesting offensive schemes. Last time I saw him in a Raptors uniform, we were top 4 in the East. And we haven't been ever since. So good luck to Chris Finch, for sure. After that, let's dive in, okay? Let's just go directly into the meat and potatoes of the trade deadline, which was not the Raptors, it was KD. So I'm surprised that TJ Warren went back home. That was the other person.
That was there we
Warren.
go. I knew someone else was there.
That's it.
But first of all, I had left we were all in a Twitter space and we were talking, and then I was like, I'm going to go to bed. And then all of a sudden I get a text from Coach. I get a text from this person. I get a text from people way out on the west coast of Canada being like, what is going on? And I'm like, I'm trying to sleep, KD. So what are your guys' thoughts? I think that there is definitely a window, but I will give my thoughts last. This time I'll go with Beyond.
This could be Brooklyn Part 2, actually. Like this could go very good or go very bad. And
you saw the reports, right? Like of them they're still interested in Kyrie.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't believe that, but but I'm just sitting there going like, and I think last night we talked about with Coach, and I had the chat is like, if we already had issues with Booker and Paul, Aiton's so much better now with Durant, Booker, and Paul. Like I just don't see where this, like, how this could be. Like, I just don't see how this could help. And the other thing too is there's still some issues they have that they just haven't addressed yet. Like, I mean, you can still go down the lane with them quite easily. Like, there's no rim protection whatsoever. You can almost say in this case here now they're a little weaker defensively on the perimeter now. Because Cam Johnson is not too bad defensively. Of course, who Bridges is like one of the best in the world. So they're gone now. And we already knew they were losing Jay Crowder. So in theory, he was already gone. So like it's in some ways they might have to be like old school Phoenix. They might just have to outscore everybody like 125 to 135 to 125 or something like that. Like I mean Durant can be on the right day against the right match. It could still be a very good defensive guy, but I don't know he's as laterally quick to get in front of guys as he used to be. And do you really want Durant to be doing that 34 or whatever he is? Like, you just don't. And I don't know
especially
who they have
with a recent injury too.
Right? Yeah. Like who's going to be out there to kind of like I mean, TJ Warren's going to be out there defensive stopper. Come on now, like I'm surprised, like in a way now, the team they have now actually needs OG even more than the team that they gave away in this case, that they had initially. So, it's a fascinating team, but the personalities, in some ways, they mesh well because Durant is a guy who's not really one when it comes to leadership to be the guy, to be the face, to talk to this, that. Chris Paul can handle that. Booker to some extent can handle that. He can just go out there and do what he wants to do. Just just drop the hoops on everybody, just buckets on everybody. Right there, that's all he really wants to do. And that's how he had. That's what he had Golden State. He had to do all the stuff like that. He just does his little press conference for a few minutes in his hoop. That's it. So in that sense, I think that's positive. But if you get down to the actual roster, lots of gaping holes, man.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they actually kept Ayton. And by the way, I do agree with this comment. I think I know who it is, but I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, I think that they have about a 2-year window. I am not quite as high on Booker's ability to grow as a defensive partner in that. And I do think that sometimes he misses out on playmaking opportunities, although he has grown. So for me, I think that they have 2 years. Basically, they have enough that they can load manage. I mean, they have to load manage a lot of guys, but they have enough to load manage one of KD or probably CP3 is the one that you want to, and just hold on for dear life. But it's a move, and we knew that something was going to happen whenever there is a new owner. Something big happens because they like to put their imprint on these things. So yeah. So, yeah.
Coach,
See, this
you
is
get
the
coach's
thing.
thoughts on this one?
Yeah, yeah. Coach, your thoughts before, and then after we'll get to this.
It's win now time for Phoenix. I said 2 weeks ago to you guys, I said, Phoenix is getting desperate. They're losing a lot of games. And when you got Paul and Booker and Ayton, like you were just in the championship game or championship series 2 years ago, you're still in that mode. I actually quite love this move for them getting KD. Him and Booker together. The key, once again, to their championship aspirations will be Ayton. They're not going to win unless he plays well. And truthfully, Pirtle would have been a better fit for them than Ayton. Pirtle would have gave him that defense, that rim protection, that I guess that court awareness that he plays with. And with Ayton, it's never been about the talent. It's just been about the motor, in a sense, the aggressiveness in which he has, because I still think he's a big time talent, but I hear some guys that cover the team, some of the journalists in Phoenix, and they're like, they want more from him. Like they just see this talent within him to be a next level player, but he's just not yet. You might get 25 and 15 one night and then 10 and 6 the next. Like that consistency is not going to do it. So, and truthfully, I could just see Jokic just getting what he wants in a championship series. Or if the Lakers somehow get there, Anthony Davis, if he's healthy, he's going to get what he wants against Ayton. So kind of like what Beyond said too, that they don't have a lot of defense coming in off their bench or even in their starters. So now they do have some. I like, you guys are gonna laugh, I do like Shamit. I think he's still going to be a good pick, a good sub for them to come in. I think they still have Sarge. Sarge is he's a smart player. Torrey Craig has been pretty good this year for them. Like I actually think they do have some pieces.
They lost Sarge, by the way.
Oh, they did. Oh, it was for Baisley.
Under.
Okay. And so they got Baisley back. I think I did see that. So it's going to be on Ayton. I know what I'm going to get from KD. If he's healthy, I know what I'm getting. Booker, I know what I'm getting. Chris Paul?
I ain't sure what I'm getting there. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you get great Chris Paul, he's going to be great. But Ayton's the biggest mystery on that team is Ayton, and they need him to win a title, period.
I think that they should have traded Ayton with the Pacers last year, and they would be in a much better position this year. I think that their pick and pop, pick and roll offensive options with Miles Turner being a little bit more dynamic offensively would have been better, and their rim defense, even if some people, there's a debate over whether or not Miles Turner is a great defender. I think he's okay. I would have taken him, but again, they didn't make that move, and I think that they were hoping to get rid of Ayton. I don't think that I think that they're stuck. Coach,
look at this. This is his stat line tonight, and they lost to the Hawks. DeAndre Ayton, 23 points, 2 rebounds. There's your starting center.
Oh man, Williams gonna go crazy, man. like the two of them are just gonna be. Yeah, that could be implosion city. Like I mean, like if they get off to a bad start, like I think it's that fragile. Like if and or say for example they thought Durant will come back like right after the All-Star game, and then this turns into something where it's like, oh, it's 2 weeks later after the All-Star game. Oh, it's 3 weeks later he's gonna come back, and that becomes a story. Like you can see all sorts of scenarios where it's like this and this could get ugly really quickly. But we'll see. Ironically, I think Irving actually got the better of the two. In some ways, you can say Irving got the better of the two places or destinations in some way. Then Durant, there's so many more question marks in Phoenix in some ways than Dallas.
Now, I know that KD was someone that I considered. I was like, maybe we should go for a KD. But the thing is that if you are the Nets, you would rather have those picks 4 years out than Raptors picks 4 years out. Because there is no way that team holds up together 4 years from now, or even potentially 3 years from now. I don't see it. So it'll be interesting. The playoffs are going to be very interesting if everyone's healthy, especially in the West. It's probably the first year that I have to say that I'm like super excited about Western Conference playoffs. Usually I've kind of focused on Eastern Conference playoffs because the storylines and the teams are just a lot more interesting to me. So, but yeah. So with that being said, before I get to the Raptors, is there anything else that you guys want to cover really quickly? I guess from the Brooklyn end of things, it frees Cam Thomas. I don't know where Matt Thomas is playing right now. And I shout out to him, though. I think he's a Bull right now. But yeah, I guess from a Brooklyn standpoint, they kind of reset. And I don't think that they're happy. But I do think that they are an interesting team from an Eastern standpoint because they are top 4. Seeding is close. I don't think that they will hold on to where they are, but they will be a dangerous playoff team because they have a team. They have some guys. But the dangerous thing for them is that a lot of their hopes still rest on a certain Mr. I want to be a socialite. So where do you – I think so because – who is going to be their best playmaker? It's him, right?
I was just watching that game tonight, and we were talking to Coach about when we had to come into the second window. They have so many waves of players right now that I lost track how many good players they have on that team. I think they beat, when they went tonight, they didn't even have the 2 Phoenix guys playing tonight. And they were still running like 9, 10 deep. I was like, holy smokes. Like Ben Simmons is the afterthought at this point. Like all you want to do
right. They have right. They got Dinwiddie. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
okay. Yeah. Shoot.
Like, all of a sudden, they're the new team with all the wings now. It used to be Toronto. It's like it's Brooklyn now. Like they got
Brooklyn.
And the difference with them and us is they got guys who can shoot too. So it's not like
true. I mean, they did play the Bulls, so I will say that. And I've never been a big believer of the Bulls.
But even the night before when they didn't have a full complement yet, they were still pretty competitive with the Clippers. They were leading that game with 4 minutes left to go. Like that team is. I remember talking to someone this afternoon about it. They were shocked when I said roster wise, Brooklyn's got a better roster than Toronto. I mean, like you guys might. I mean, I said top heavy, we win. When you go like 1 to 15, it's not even close.
It's not close.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, this is jumping ahead just a tiny bit, but I kind of wanted Spencer Dinwiddie in a pick for Fred VanVleet, and I think that I would have been if we did that as our second move. I would have been happy.
Based on how today went, that sounds like a roast beef on Christmas Day, man. I'll take that right now.
Can we get a do-over?
We right now eating crumbs right now for the most part off this table, man. It's pretty rough right now.
Yeah, I mean, I won't play it for copyright reasons, but there's the Looney Tunes where he says, that's all, folks, right? And I remember sending it to a few people, and I'm like, that is exactly how I feel. Like everyone was like, all right, something's going to happen. And then nothing happened. So at least we didn't do nothing. But yeah, I'm interested to see if the Nets hold on to their spot. That is something that will be definitely interesting to see. I'm just curious to see. There's a couple other teams before I just touch on the Raptors really quick that didn't do something that was surprising. Miami usually doesn't do anything, and I don't know if you saw some of the memes of Pat Riley wandering like an old man wandering around Miami, and they said, I lost my granddad and that sort of thing. He might have Alzheimer's. He's all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So
they might take Westbrook, so that might be their big move.
Oh goodness!
That was today. They're having the Clippers, and the Clippers picked up a couple of guards.
Poor Lowry.
So Miami looks like an ideal place. And they could use a guy as bad as they could use a guy who can get the hoop, though. They really don't have a lot of people to get the hoop. It's like he's pretty much Jimmy on his own, pretty much.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on the Brooklyn because I've been ever since they made the trade yesterday and the Kyrie trade. I love their team now. I love the direction that they're going in. The drama is now gone. Even KD brought some drama too. He did ask for the coach and the general manager to be fired last summer too.
Yeah.
Not just Kyrie has his own drama, of course, but when your starting lineup probably moving forward is going to be Dinwiddie, maybe Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Bridges, and Claxton. You got 3 guys, and there's Finney Smith too. I mean, they got like Ben Simmons. They got like 10 guys that can guard at least 1 through 3, and they have like 4 guys who can go guard 1 through 5.
Right. I even mentioned what the little young guy like I tell you at Sumner. Didn't even mention him. He can't get off the bench again. He plays well every time he gets an opportunity.
Yeah, and they got shooters now. I mean, I really like what Brooklyn did. It is not going to shock me if they get one of the top 6 seeds. Not going to shock me at all.
I think we're easily in. Because I don't trust Miami because thing, Miami always has injury issues and they don't have enough talent, so their margin of error is always narrow. Then you got to take the Knicks. I guess the only sure bet in there is Cleveland. That might be of that top 6. I think is pretty guaranteed. So I think there's 4 teams that are for sure locked in, and then I think Brooklyn's the 5th one.
I'm a big fan of what they did. They got all those draft picks. They didn't flip any of them. So I think they're moving in the right. I think I'm pleased with Sean Marks, what he was able to recoup today. I know I saw the spaces and the Nets fans were they need a therapy session.
I can't believe they went like all noted on that, man. I mean, when the Heat dude came in this morning, I happened to come in just a few minutes before him. He's like, wait a second, is this the same spaces where I went to bed last night? This is the same one. He's, I guess, whoever the guy's hosting. He goes like, and he always felt ashamed to say so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm glad that I got sleep last night. I'll start with that because that was
amazing though. That 30 minutes when the Raptors deal came through and then the KD deal through, it was like incredible, man. It's like literally back to back within like 15, 20 minutes. Like what?
Absolutely. Really quickly, just to touch on some of these things. Ibaka. So there was a question about Ibaka. I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just take this one. Anytime a guy has really bad back surgery, including Simmons, I always worry, especially when they're older. I think that Ibaka is more focused on being a chef and cooking at this point. I do like him as a vibes guy, but I think Pirtle kind of covers the vibes coming in. So for now, as much as I know we have been desperate for a guy, plus based on what he does and what he's capable of doing with his bad back, I don't think he can provide what we want. In terms of just to go to this question, Utah, he played well. He's 4 or 5 from 3 today. So it's not just the spacing from KD. I think he did improve, and I think this year health has helped him a lot. So if there's no other teams, we can just jump into the Raptors and we can just talk about the Raptors today. So I guess past 24 hours. So do you guys want to just jump into the Raptors and just talk about that? Sorry, I there's one other thing. I think the closest was Devin Booker's run when he was quite young. So that was probably one of I think that's the only one that I can really think of was like Devin Booker a couple of years ago when he had that 60-point explosion and stuff like that when he was young. Any thoughts on this? And either of you?
How much do you have tonight? You know how much he scored tonight? Like I wanted to see
3 of 16. He did not do well.
Yeah, he hit some incredible shots, but at the same time, he was gunning it a bit. But I think what it showed in this case, he has talent that really, really like this is the part that frustrates me so much as a Raptor fan. This is a good segue. To think a guy like Cam Thomas just pining away on the bench in Brooklyn, and to see the shot making he has in this case here. And we can't find anyone from Brampton all the way up to Oshawa in this case that could do that. At this point, it's just like just so frustrating. Man. It's like, are you kidding me? You just rolled him off the street almost like here, Cam Thomas. I heard they asked Jacques Vaughn after he scored the second 40, and they said, like, are you doing something different there for Cam Thomas? He goes, no, I just gave him the same place we ran for Kyrie. That's it. That's like, oh, that's it. Don't change the playbook. The Kyrie playbook. Here you go, kid. No problem. Unbelievable. And I'm sitting there going like, why can't we just get one dude that just gets buckets? I just want one time. Just get one dude gets buckets.
Oh, yeah, I'm hoping that we maintain a draft pick that is good enough that we can get one of the guys that I like George at the very least, who I think might end up dropping a little bit.
I think that Pirtle trade might say sayonara to that.
Yep. So yeah, that is actually the perfect segue into that. The Raptors got the Pirtle trade. In a vacuum, I actually liked the Pirtle trade when it happened, but I thought there was going to be a subsequent move. I think the Raptors probably were praying and hoping that there would be too, but it didn't happen. I don't understand the Clippers end of it, so I'm just going to ignore them because, as you both said, it's like I don't understand what they're doing. I don't get it. This was like a move for them. The Phoenix thing I get because obviously if you can get KD, I guess you go for KD. That's your move. So then the real question becomes is like, where were the other suitors? Well, Orlando, I think for Fred, that was kind of dried up because they can kind of do a sign and trade. So there's no rush for them, although it would have been nice. Please, something.
I think Masai played that card once with Carmelo. It ain't happening again. Okay.
Yeah, I guess you get one. You get one.
One again, man. Everyone gets wise at that point.
So yeah, I mean it's interesting. So first of all, thoughts on the Pearl trade on its own when it happened, and then I guess your secondary thoughts after the deadline based on what happened. Coach, I'll let you go first.
When it initially happened, I think I was literally on the space saying, boy, I don't know if Pirtle's the right fit. And then he got traded to us. Mm-hmm. I was saying this based on fit with Pascal and Scotty. That's why. And we already have a lack of shooting on this team. So I was just like, is Pirtle going to really help this out? But I guess there's a familiarity. We do have a 7-footer now who can play. And that makes
you're really trying
happy.
Hard to sell this.
Well, we have someone now who can at least, somewhat box out Steven Adams and Zubac. You can play with those guys from a physical standpoint. I think I was fine with the deal because Pirtle doesn't need the ball. We already have a bunch of guys who want the ball, maybe too much. Masai spoke about that individual play today, and Pirtle doesn't need the ball. So that in that case, he's a good fit that way. He can be the fifth option, and that's fine. I do think that I'm kind of wondering just the fit. Like, I'm not concerned about defensively, just offensively. Right. When we're a team that we don't have a lot of shooting, we have a lot of our bigs aren't really known to be shooters either. So I'm curious to see the fit, I suppose, in action. And I'm just going to have to see it first. Because what I saw last night in the Spurs game, Scotty destroyed him in the post.
Nelly was all over that. It's a great point. I think she and Lily made the same point. It's like, yeah, it didn't look good.
it didn't look great. That's for sure. So yeah, I'm fine with the trade. I had a feeling that this could happen. I know Canyon, you and I have spoken about this, that this could go down, and I think they'll be able to re-sign him. There's no question about that. As long as Pascal's here, he'll be here.
If they gave up picks and not re-sign,
Gosh,
yeah.
they like burned down Scotiabank, man. They did that. The Leafs one day.
My brain short-circuited there. I was like, I can't. Like, you need to leave, sir. Like this, like that's it. You're done. You're gone. Like if Pirtle, and that's the way that I saw it. Is the second that they got Pirtle, I was like, he's staying, right? Yeah. He was that low usage big, like you said. I really liked it, but if he didn't resign, sorry to interrupt, or because I know Beyond hasn't given his thoughts, but like, so someone would be in trouble. That's all I'll say. So absolutely, Beyond.
You know, you just brought up something that made me think about this, and I'll run this by you guys. Could some form of this deal not been done last year?
Thank you.
Like, really, if we're going to go down this road, we could have done that last year. If it ended up being Kem Birch in this case here and a second round pick, we could have done this last year. And Kem Birch probably had more value last year in this case. It did the same thing. Like, I'm just this whole thing from the time of Thad in the second round pick, like, this is just like a one compounding mistake after another. I'm hoping that when they sign Pirtle, it's over with. And it's just like, and it's ironic that we play Utah, considering that the draft pick that we probably could have had is going to be playing us tomorrow night. Like, it just makes everything just more painful. To think that we really had to go and burn a pick now to kind of correct the mistake that we had like a year ago. Unreal.
I can't.
This reminds me of. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, I can't believe that the protections on this are so light.
What?
I was just like, I figured this might be lottery protected. It's only 1 through 6 protected.
Oh my god!
I'm just like,
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's far from ideal, is what I'll say. It's
yes. Sorry, Kenny, I probably interrupted you. My apologies.
No, that's okay. I can't even remember exactly what I was gonna say, but it was along those lines where it's just. Again, when it happened, I was okay with it. I'm even okay with giving up a 2024 pick. But I think Beyond Utes, I think it was you that said, why couldn't we have done this type of thing before? Right? There's no reason why at the beginning of the season, or remember how I said to you, Coach, I said, if you're going to do a Rudy Gay trade, look at the date that you do it. You do it in December. You don't do it in when 3/4 of the season is over, right? So, like, this is something that if they were going to make this move, they should have done it earlier, because at this point in the season, I think it's weird for the fans. Like, I think the fans were in a space where we're like, okay, we're cool. All right, just get rid of Fred or whatever camp you were in, okay? Whether it's Fred or OG, you were ready for a significant change. And then it's like Birch goes, it's like, okay, I mean, that's not really a significant change, but it's good. It is a change. What else is next? And then you're like, it's like a wet fart just happened, and that's it.
That's a great way of putting it, man. This, as you said before, in a vacuum, and you have this look at the trade. The trade's a good trade overall. You can't really say it's not. It's a good, or some people might think it's a great trade, but it can't say it's a bad trade in a vacuum. But I remember Coach saying so. Now it's like this morning. I'm saying when we had the space, saying, I think you or Mel said at the time, said like, oh, I think it might have been Mel that said like, I'm really not really a fan of taking out that first round pick. And then all of us kind of agreed, like, well, we assume at the time picks will be coming back. So
that was me. Yeah, I said that.
Right? Like, so yeah, I was in the same camp as you. Was like, okay, you know what? We'll live with it. We're gonna get a couple back. So be it. Now in isolation, now that there's nothing else coming back, that pick just seems like it's like a scarlet letter now, just sitting out there, just looking at us now. It's like, really? Oh my gosh! I'm just sitting here going, like, are you kidding me? I mean, rumor has it 2024 draft isn't as good as this draft coming up, but at the same time, man, Like when you're a team like Toronto, you can't be just giving away draft picks like this, man. Like I find in this, and this leads to. Well, I'll leave with Masai. I'll let you get the Masai press conference because I found that fascinating. But
yeah,
I will go to the fact that, that there is like, boy, you talk about the body language experts will be all over that one. That was really interesting.
Yeah, it really was. What this reminded me of, because you said correcting a mistake, it kind of reminded me of and I think this was actually under Masai too, was we gave up a pick to get rid of Damari Carroll.
Right.
And it was like, why are we... I mean, I understand that we got to get rid of this guy, but why are we giving up a pick to get rid of Damari Carroll? I can't remember what the pick ended up becoming. I'd have to go through, but, I think someone in the comments, I want to say it was James, mentioned this, and it's true. There's times when Masai and Bobby, whatever, Masai and co, wait too long. And I know that they have mentioned that they do not like to do in-season trades because it disrupts stuff. But, that locker room was abysmal. It looks like it's better. And so from a vibes check and all that kind of stuff, it's good. I think that it also confirms one thing that was a question, which is that it is now officially like, if you're getting this guy, it is Siakam's team. Right, I saw like after they got Jakob Poeltl, people were like, "Oh, we can get Siakam." I'm like, why would they get Jakob Poeltl to trade Siakam? That makes zero sense. So from that perspective, it didn't make any sense. But
it was always Siakam's team. That's the part that I think that I look at this way. I think psychologically, Masai has brought himself to the point where he realizes it is at this point Siakam's team. I would just like him to bring the strategy and the tactics to it to actually make it Siakam's team to help him to be the best player he could be. Ditto to Scotty. Because, I mean, great. You bring Rico Hines, that's his boy, you bring him in. I think the brother's somewhere in the organization, fantastic. Now you got Jakob, coming in here, that's his boy, great. Probably he did not want Fred moved in this case here. So that's also probably something in this case here that be careful about, So Fred's still here at the moment. However, you got to put some guys around this dude, man. And it's like, I'm just sitting here going like, who's he kicking this ball out to? It's even worse than before. Like,
I was at the Raptor Republic thing, and I actually asked that during the live Q&A, is I said, like, have they tried to build around Siakam? And beyond, you and I have talked about this several times of like, we don't think that they have. And by building around him, you're also building around Scotty. So let's do that. Like,
that's the part that had me so frustrated that literally we saw the blueprint of this playing out identically. The team had the same record, the same ranking in their conference as us. And the Lakers say like, oh no, we're going to build around with similar type of skill set players in this case from a standpoint of what they like to do in this parts of the court they like to be. And I said, okay, we're going all in. And we're going to get as many shooters and skilled dudes we can get in this case to help out LeBron and ditto to Anthony Davis. No, not us. No, we're going to analyze. I joked the coach and said, like, are we writing like a white paper? Like, what? We're evaluating. And it's like, what's there to evaluate at this point here? Malachi Flynn can't play in this case as a legitimate backup point guard. I need another 2 months of this. Like, I don't need 2 months to figure that out. Like, Koloko still.
I'm not even going to go there on Malachi because we've gone there for how many nights in a row, and like
most of these guys here are already the recipe's already done, and we already cooked the meal. We already know what they're about. With the exception of Precious and Scotty, everybody else we know what they're about. They are what they are. Yeah. Trent might get marginally better as a playmaker, but Trent's not going to be able to turn into Magic Johnson. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. But I noticed this two years ago. This is like a repeat of the Lowry trade deadline space, in a sense. Like, there was a deal on the table to get Tyrese Maxey, but Masai wanted.
Oh, right.
There was. Right. Masai wanted draft picks. He wanted Thibault at the time. We could have had Maxey, but we got Precious. And I'm not trying to minimize the Precious deal or anything, but
there's levels to this, as the kids say.
Yeah, who's the better player right now?
Right.
I mean,
It's
who would be the
it's
better
Maxey.
fit? Imagine like Maxi would fit so well, not maybe not defensively, but offensively, he would fit so well because he is able to provide that rim pressure. He's able to recognize the advantages that he can make. He's a decent passer, and he's grown at that as they've given him those chances. He is extremely fast. Like like I'm still worried about our point of attack defense. But I will get to some buyout candidates in a bit, but like it was again, I'm happy that we got Pirtle. I'm sad that that's the only move that we made. And I was hoping that we would be able to recoup some stuff draft wise, either trading Fred or I had accepted that OG as well. Like I just
But hopefully, when it's all said and done, like I think there's, I don't know. This I see in a way, I don't know if the media's done this or the Raptors or just us as a fan base. It doesn't have to be OG or Fred or Bus, which will end up happening. They could tweak around the edges. Just got they could trade Boucher and gotten themselves a couple players in this case to help in this case. Like everyone's asking, like, oh, right, and they could round out the thing. Like I mean, how they're giving away guys today? It's like Boucher probably could got you something half decent. You know,
I mean,
like,
if Crowder was getting you 5, second, can't Boucher get a first? That's
Boucher
it.
Get you a first a player that's just a rotational guy can actually shoot and dribble.
It was a seller's market. We didn't sell. What happened? Like, and we had stuff to sell.
Crowder hasn't played in 10 months.
Right.
And you get 5 second-round picks.
No one knows even this dude's like 30 pounds overweight or anything. Like it's like
can't get past the physical
all day long in Phoenix. Like this is what I'm talking about. And like they give 5 second round picks for him. This guy's just giving away picks left, right, and center. I'm sitting there going like, Mike Muscala's getting traded and getting stuff. Like no disrespect to Mike Muscala, but like there was opportunities. Like him and Boucher is like pretty much the same type of level of player to some extent. Like you get gotten dudes, man. Like. It's just the narrowness of the mindset. Like, well, if I don't get the perfect, it's a bit like how Danny Ainge is sometimes. And I don't want a GM getting like Danny Ainge, where it's like I have to win the deal for me to actually make the deal. No, everyone can share and get something out of it. You don't have to win the deal every time. You just get yourself something that helps your team, and if it's something that helps their team, great. We all move on. But it's getting this mindset now where Masai and these guys and Bobby almost like if they can't win the deal, they don't want to do the deal. And it's the point is not to win the deal. The point is to make your team better. Yeah. And I'm sure opportunity. That's why I think last night I mentioned it on the chat that the space I had was, is there an opportunity? I think I posted the coach and others like, could you pry away just Daniels in this case? Forget all the big deal. Could you just get Daniels for something? What would that take?
You sound like you're on the corner. Like, can you spare some change? Can you spare a player, please?
Right. Well, you start with your biggest deal first, right? It's like, okay, fair enough. But if you really want Daniels, what would it take to get Daniels? Right? In this case here, I don't think you necessarily had to give OG away. They got like 15 players in this case, out 40 million draft picks. It's like we know which ones they want to keep. Even ended up being Herb Jones, and in this case here, you could have gotten something for him. Like there's possibilities, and it probably wouldn't cost you as much for Herb Jones. But no, not the Raptors. We must have the perfect, most pristine, deal, so we could be genuflected about when we win the deal. It's like no, you don't have to do that.
I think that there were actual deals on the table for Fred, not today, but in the past, and we let it go. Yeah, and like today, I think that there's not really a market, but I think in the past there probably was. It's from the sounds of it, and I think we made a mistake there. The
Mo Bamba plus guard, whatever it was in this case here, that rumor's going on since November. Mo Bamba plus guard. I
talked about Suggs for the longest time, and all this kind of stuff. In
November was Cole Anthony, right? That's who it was. But then when the Suggs, right? Like it was just
we started from up here and we are here. So
my thing is, and I get the Fred rumors and stuff like that, but we never did anything to help him in this case. If you're keeping him, you might as well try to help him. You bring in a backup guard who can play 20 minutes a night, 15 minutes a night. We didn't do anything there. We've done we brought in Pirtle, but We already have a lot of guys 6'9". We don't have many guards who can play. So I'm just like, they're going to run Fred into the ground again.
Yeah. Could we not take in THT for like a second rounder or something like that? Like seriously. I mean, he plays minutes in the past. I know he's better than Malachi Flynn. I know that.
I mean, can we get Pat Bev at least? I know, like, I'm getting desperate now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, yo, can I get anything?
I don't go that far, but like, I mean, you're right. I mean, you don't want to choke him before long in the locker room.
Slim Pickens, man, Slim Pickens.
But like, there's guys like like the Alexander Walker one, which was one of the earlier ones of the day. I'm just like, are you kidding me when that trade happens? Like, are you kidding me? We literally talked about trade like the last 48 hours of those two dudes going together. Even if you split, even if the Brickland part, you didn't want Conley. You got Walker in this case here. Like, I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, fine. Bones is not a nurse guy because Bones, is allergic to defense a bit. I get that. Fine. Okay. I mean, he drinks like the plague. I get that. So he ain't a nurse guy. So maybe that's not the case. But there's other guys I'm sure you could have picked up in this case here, man. Like, I just. The little young fellow from Portland, this case, Keon Johnson. Like, there's opportunities there that might just been like, okay, a flyer on this guy. We'll give you Flynn, and we take your Keon Johnson in this case. If you're going all in, you think Flynn's more mature to be backing up Dame and whomever else. Cool. No, we even try that.
One move that we didn't talk about yet. Just to shift slightly away from the Raptors. But this is another guy that we could have taken a flyer on based on what he went for, was and not James Wiseman, but Saddiq Bey. Because Saddiq Bey didn't really go for much. No offense to James Wiseman, but he didn't really go for much.
Well, you're right. Or go the other way in this case here. I'm sure Moody was on the table somewhere. How much was it to get Moody?
Yes.
Boucher or something like that. They want an energy dude off the bench and one more forward since they're moving Wiseman out.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about the positives really quickly of Pirtle, because I know we've talked about the negatives of this trade deadline, but the thing about Pirtle is, number one, he is a great for his position. He is one of the best, if not, he's routinely been in the 90th percentile as a, I guess like a big who passes, like a playmaker. So you do have to give him that credit. He has developed that for San Antonio. They used him a lot in those areas in that space on the floor. I think that the other thing that is very interesting is that in the past, and other people have made this point before, but you have a guy like Siakam, like Scotty Barnes, like whoever else, OG. They play physical guys because, when you have Steven Adams and he's holding like 3 Raptors with his arm, at least it won't be them. So it does take.
You know what he emasculates the most, man. It looks horrible when we play.
You remember seeing that where he was literally just like one arm and he was just like, give me the ball. And then that was it. It was embarrassing. It was like imagine one of us playing against like little school children. That's what it was like on mini hoops, right? Yeah. So to some of the, now I'm seeing in the comments, to some of their points, I think that he is actually he's been borderline all defense in the past. His defense has slipped a little bit overall from his block percentage, but it's still really good. And then the other things that I actually talked to Blake Murphy briefly about the trade offline, and we were just talking about just different ways that it can work from an offensive end. Having a proper screener is a different way that you can create space. And I think beyond, you and I were talking about this yesterday, and Coach as well, where you can, if you have a proper screener, please, nurse, if you're listening, do this.
I was wondering.
Someone actually has to make the scheme, right? But if you have the right screener in the right place and set up, can be on even the side or whatever, you can actually set up things that do create downhill pressure that allow guys like Scotty, who, I mean, frankly, I love Scotty. He's really improved. He doesn't always have the best first step, but he can power through guys. And so it helps create a little bit of extra space while he can go downhill right now. And same with Siakam and same with OG. I'm hoping that that's what they do. So there are different ways that you can create spacing threats. And there are great videos. I think Thinking Basketball actually did another one where you can use the guy in different positions where the guy is cutting more and stuff like that. Like Pirtle's a smart player.
You play him like Draymond.
You can, like a big Draymond, very big Draymond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I think have faith beyond. I'll just say this in about 15 minutes, we'll open it up if anyone wants to join in. But yeah, I think it's really, really interesting to see that. And I do think that it could work. We are a better team today. I am sad because I've been doing some scouting. I've been looking at some of these guys, and in that, I'd even say 6 through 15 range, there were some interesting guys, and there's a chance that we don't. So, jumping into the next thing.
Okay, I don't think we're gonna get that high. You think we're gonna actually get past the 15 range?
I'm hoping not.
Yeah, because I don't think. I mean, 6 is gonna be a stretch to get there. We might be able to pull it off, but like. Yeah. I still think we're going to play in tournament, and I think you might still get your wish. Let's put it that way.
No, but if you make it, here's the problem: if you make it through the play-in tournament, you're automatically bumped up out of the 15 range.
Yeah.
So that's the problem: is we're too good to like. We're probably going to make it through the play-in tournament, and that's the real problem. Is I was hoping that we would like temporarily like hamper this team. So yeah, coach.
But. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Once we got Pirtle, we became a buyer to a degree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're halfway. You want to do a maze, but you only get halfway through it and you don't finish the maze.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, we get to the play-in tournament. Maybe we get 8th or 9th place. Maybe we get in the 8th seed, and then to me, what I'm trying to say is once you got Pirtle, you should have done more because you can get the 6th seed maybe, or you can, show Fred and Siakam. It's like, okay, we understand this is your prime. We can't make any significant major moves right now, but we're going to try to fill in the gaps with this team. So that's why it was a little frustrating to me that we didn't go out and get a playmaking guard or go out and get another shooter and stuff like that. Just try for some of these minor moves, more or less. It doesn't have to be major moves. If the deal wasn't there for OG, I understand.
Yeah. Like Uncle Dropsy today said the same thing that you're saying right now, and I've said they're like one guy short off the bench.
Yep.
At least. Yeah.
Yep.
So that brings me to some of the buyout candidates that I've seen so far. Your guy, Coach Reggie Jackson. He's apparently going to be bought out by Charlotte. And then the other interesting thing is Will Barton, who's also very interesting. Now, between the two, I know which one that I'd prefer. But the one thing that I would say is, I think if we're going to go into this direction, then let's actually go in this direction and recruit some of these buying guys. I think since we just did a 1-to-1 swap and we didn't sign Wieskamp, we have an extra roster space. So we don't even have to cut anyone if that's a worry. So why not just get a really good buyout guy that is a guard and see what we have, if that's what we want to do.
Do you want to go back in time again? Because Terrence Ross will be available.
No, gosh, no. Oh, no.
I mean, so I think someone brought that up today. I don't know who brought it up. Lily or someone brought it up, and it's like, and I understand he's not that bad of a fit actually, but like, I don't know who. Let's put the names out there. Who we have right now? Well, do you have a list yet? You mentioned those 3 guys, but is there? I'm
pulling it up right now just from Real GM. So I'll
Westbrook, we know no one's touching Westbrook. so we can move on for that one.
Yeah, we could just move on. But right now, so far, it's Will Barton and Reggie Jackson are the ones that I'm aware of.
I personally, I would make a run for Will Barton as fast as possible.
No, I would. I
Yes.
would too. And he would just be that wing defender that you could bring in off the bench for sure.
But he can get his own
wing,
bucket.
sorry, guy who can play score. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
he shoots from 3 at a decent clip, and that is more than what you're looking for. And he's been better in the past, and he's also a wing defender, but he can also he can also guard guards as well. 6'6". I like it.
He can get one shot too.
Oh right, George Hill. I did hear about that. So yeah, he might be bought out. I think he's kind of cooked though.
He fit in with our team perfectly then.
I made a joke today on the Spaces.
6th man of the year. Sorry,
I made a joke on the Spaces today and said George Hill's the king of the Midwest teams. If you want a Midwest team, George Hill's likely on it, man. Be it Milwaukee, Indiana, he's got Cleveland, he's gonna be on there. He's just working with Chicago. I'm not sure he's been there yet. So.
He has not been. Maybe that's his next stop. But
soon enough. No, he would. I mean, I'm truthfully speaking, he'd get minutes on our team off the bench.
He would, but
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt.
The reason why I like the Barton idea is that, okay, think of going back to that game 6, right? It's halftime, and now Doc's now hitting, I call it in this case, break glass in case of emergency strategy. We're just blitzing Siakam and everything and dare you guys to make a play. So when that happens now, and say you got Barton out there, he can make a play.
Yes.
Right? The other guys out there, I ain't really trusting George Hill at this point in his career to really make a play for me. And and then you had who else was out there? Reggie Jackson could make a play too. I ain't gonna lie, but Reggie Jackson's a bit of an interesting personality, which would concern me a little bit. Like I think Barton would fit in better with the locker room than a Reggie Jackson. But he definitely could play. Like Reggie Jackson, I like him talent wise, but I just don't think he's the type of guy personality wise that would fit with this group.
Yeah, no. 100%.
Yeah, I'm just wondering who else would be a buyout candidate coming up. And I think that's the real question, right?
Well, I guess you gotta look at is like, I guess who's a veteran or something like that that's on a bad team that's probably near the end of their contract and just wants to get out. See, now Eric Gordon got traded, so that's not possible anymore.
Yeah,
so
he's already gone.
So who else would fit that bill?
Anybody on Detroit? Someone like that?
James Wiseman wants out. I'm just kidding. I do not want James Wiseman, by the way. And I'm good.
Yeah, you gotta go through. You gotta look for guys like that and figure like who's left. I mean, like I just had another team that was kind of in the mix.
Was the guy from Philly that requested the trade?
Korkmaz.
He might right. He's right. Korkmaz, but Korkmaz is like a classic. I'm just spot shoot type of guy, and he can do a little off the bounce, but not enough to kind of put the fear of a defense on you. Like right. That's why I like Barton. Like Barton's like he could go downhill and create something and when he gets hot, he can cook, man. Like I see some days where it's like Jokic is just like here's the ball, and Will Barton's just going off like 12 or 13 a quarter, just like here we go. So.
Raptors Dan is tossing up some names for us, so I'm going to put them on the screen. You can tell me what you think.
Man. Raptors Dan's always coming through, man. He's always got the stuff, man.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kojo.
Nah.
Okay, there is no excitement for Kojo here. Okay, Derrick Rose is the next one.
I'm more intrigued by that.
Yes,
that is more interesting. We're now, we're going in the right direction with him.
Yeah. Yes.
Eric Gordon. I'm just kidding. He's not going to get bought out, and he has a lot more years to go there. So, yeah. I guess I'm curious to see how the next 2 games go for the Raptors because we face our arch nemesis on Sunday. So that is going to be very, very interesting. I'm not sure if it is Skip or Brian, but they're tossing these out. I already said with Ibaka, he's done. We don't need to relive bad things. Bryn Forbes can't defend. He can shoot, but he can't defend, and he's kind of meh. And Deadman is almost dead, man.
Well, I think we're out of the big man market for now. Now it's like you're in the guard market now to try to get something. Bryn Forbes, I'd be fine with him. He's a good shooter.
He can shoot.
I like this. I know it's a half troll, but would you take Westbrook on this team, even though I think he has a destination already?
He does have a skill set we can use, but no.
It wouldn't be the worst, is what I'll say. Yeah. Although some people would flip out, to say the least, completely. I know Mouth of the North, the Reese Report, would definitely not like this.
Maybe Malachi Flynn the thing to you? Holy smokes, man. You someone have to go check his house, man, and check on you.
Oh. Reese never watch another basketball game again, baby. Malachi Flynn.
Oh my God, no.
Hey, listen, I gotta make sure that he's okay.
yeah. Don't knock on the door over there, man. Yeah, that could get ugly. Oh my God. Unless there's like I don't think there's any San Antonio buyouts at this point. I don't think there's anything there.
I'd say Josh Richardson, but he got traded. And then Doug McDermott has another year or so. I just don't see it. I mean, if you really are desperate, there's Josh Primo, but I'm totally joking, by the way.
You know what? As far as Barton to me still like he's the dude I would go after, man. Like like if it's not him, then
Gary Harris might be, but it's weird because like he's on team control next year, so I don't know why they would give him up.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. There's guys like Gary Harris who sit like. Oh gosh, man! It's just so depressing.
There's no bueno.
Oh my goodness! That's very So many like guys like that. I think we were talking about Alex Burt was kind of brought up. Those three kind of guys always think of the same level. Barton, Burks, Harris. They're kind of all there's so many guys that just think of like, okay, maybe try one of those guys. I mean, then even I remember about 2 weeks ago when we had the space and it kind of got hijacked into a Cam Reddish discussion. Right now, man, I ain't gonna lie, that wouldn't look half bad right now. just take a flyer on Cam Reddish right now.
Honestly, hindsight being 2020, we you know what, Zazu, I don't think you're here, but shout out to you. We should have gotten Cam Reddish. My bad. We like, because he doesn't make that much money. Could we have just done, I don't know, Flynn and what is his name? Bo Cruz or whatever the heck his name is, and kind of cobble those together and take on a little bit of extra money and get me some of that Cam Reddish love. It's there's guys. I mean, THT. Who knows? Maybe he might get bought out, man. Because I mean, he's just pining away, sitting on the bench in Utah. So who knows? Maybe he might. They might get ready of him. Maybe give a flyer on him too. So maybe he's another guy.
But this is my thing beyond. Like, here's Nickeil Alexander-Walker sitting on the bench the whole season for Utah. We couldn't call back in December to get him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I understand we have like this analysis by paralysis. We just we overthink everything. Like I just love how certain teams just say, "Hey, man, we're just going all in." Like Milwaukee was super aggressive. The Lakers super aggressive. I mean, you can pick out other teams. Like who else was it? Even Memphis kind of started picking up things late in the evening and started making moves. Like I just found that we just always like tiptoeing. It's like, okay, well, we'll just kind of do a little something here, but we don't go too far. Like. I don't know if it has to do with the fact. It's almost in a way I wonder if it has to do with the fact of how many lean years we had and so nervous about the mistakes we made when we were a younger franchise and that we still think of ourselves in that way as that type of market. So we're always frightened of making one bad move or something like that. And I do wonder if that plays into the psyche of this organization.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is that sometimes the worst you can do is indecision. Because then, sometimes it's better to make the wrong move then no move. And I think the worst move here was okay. I mean, we made a move, so the worst move would have been literally coming in with the same team. So that's why I'm like, I'm not killing them too much. They did something, and they clearly tried to do something. But for example, like with OG or whatever, all those rumors. I forget about Fred because I feel like his market, but like you guys said, it was done. Fair enough. Mm-hmm. They could have done something, right? And again, even beyond that, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. There was other moves that they could have done, unfortunately. Raptors Dan is bringing up the idea of Flynn, and the reason why we didn't talk about Reggie Jackson is just because we already talked about him. In terms of Banton, I think that Banton, I thought that they were holding Banton back so to showcase Flynn. Not that he got him a lot of run for showcase, but you were hoping. So I thought that was going to end up leading to Banton being played. I think at this point, Jeff Doughton he is probably your best bet, but I kind of think that they like him in the G League to help. You almost need one point guard that's a solid guy in the G League to help bring guys along in your development system. And unfortunately, that might have to be Jeff Doughton for now. Hopefully he does get rewarded in the future.
But I think Raptors Dan brings up an interesting point, right? Because here we are now after the deadline. This goes to the coach's point. Here we are after the deadline. And the same questions we had from all the way in November, we're still dealing with now after the trade deadline. We're still asking about Banton or Flynn. Like, are we serious? There's like a year plus of this. And then besides going to come out in a press conference talk about he's evaluating. Like, what do we need to evaluate after 18 months of these two? Like, neither one of them. Like, this is the problem. We have the same issues that we had before. We're still having nights in this case here where it's like, oh, Fred or Scotty here running the point. Here we go again. Oh, what role's Fred gonna have? He's getting enough minutes and shots. Same thing. We're saying we got no shooting in this game. Same thing. I don't know how we don't resolve half these problems. Like, if we got like 4 issues and we say we got 2 of the 4 covered off. Like, for example, to your point, I would rather have them take a swing and say, okay, we couldn't get Terrence Mann from the Clippers, but heck, they say, we'll give you a pick, Toronto, and we'll give you coffee. And if we said, fine, we'll take the pick and coffee, I would say, you know what, I'll live with it because we're not signing Fred back lately at $30 million.
I would certainly hope not. No offense to Fred.
To me, the risk is so small because if you're not, which now makes me wonder, are we signing Fred?
Yeah.
Are we really going down this path? Because it's like, so if Fred goes out there and Fred can only find 27 or 28, are we now saying, well, we're going to sign him? Because that's what they're trying to say to me. And I think that's not a good move for the future of this franchise at all.
So I think that they're aware that they done goofed, right? Based on the sentiments. I mean, even in the press conference, the first thing is he's like, oh yeah, he joked about not doing anything, and the first question was like, why?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was like, why? Like, we're not happy. Boo this man, right? Like,
right. But even the first sentence of response was very telling, right? Because he said, now I think I remember Tim McAuliffe was talking to Grange about it, and Grange was bringing up the same points that we were just talking about. You didn't have to go all the way for a blockbuster deal. You could have found other ways to thing, and that's what Grange is talking about. Because all you do now is create confusion. Is what he's saying. He's like, so what's the direction of the team? In one sense, you're saying like, oh, we're going to keep Pat in this case here, and this goes to coach's point, but we're not going all in if we're going to stay Pat with the nucleus we have. And then the other side is like, okay, well, we're not going too far. That's the way to go and get young talent in this case to play with Scotty and those guys. So like, what is this? Is this like this, this just jelly of just of mediocrity in this case here, just sitting in front of us?
No, I give it a D as a grade. Like that's my grade. Coach, sorry.
I knew Masai was going to come out and say, "Oh, we're evaluating. We believe in these guys." Blah blah blah. The whole, rah rah. And I get that, and I do see its purpose. But like you just said, Beyond, this whole point of evaluating, you've been evaluating for 18 months or 24 months now. Right. If you don't know what you got, You got to stop writing these research papers on what you have. Like you said before, stop with the research papers. I think you have an idea of what you can get for some of the players on your team. And I'm not saying to go trade anybody, but if this you're continuing to evaluate, like if you're working at a job for 2 years, if you're a boss and you have someone that's been working for you for 2 years and you're still evaluating them after that time.
Right. They say in HR that pretty much if you would know your job to its fullest within 18 months. And if you don't, then it's like you got some issues. So if I'm sitting here and look at Malachi Flynn, who's now a 3-year vet now, and you still now evaluating Malachi Flynn at this point, like what more research we need at this point? Like it's ridiculous. I mean, Boucher is what Boucher is. What Boucher's going to expand his game at this point at 30 years old? Come on.
I remember seeing that the other day. I was this is on the Facebook group. So it was like, oh, well, because I was like, oh, one move could be a Boucher move, and they're like, but he's still developing. I'm like, he's 30 years old. Like, you develop what? Like what? Like I have no issues with Boucher as a person or whatever, but it's like he's not. Like he is who he is. He is what he is, right? He's not developing. We're not. Oh well, Boucher at age 32 is going to be magically way different than he is right now. Like no, he's going to be like the same basically.
Exactly. There's only one guy off that bench in this case where you can see development. That's Precious. Everybody else is like we know what we have.
Oh, we'll add Koloko as well. Just
Yeah, Koloko in this case as well too. Yeah, and even Banton. I'm like at this point here, we're now 18 months. Like. I'm not. If you're gonna do it, then do it. Like just move Flint out the way and just put Banton there and just let it ride for the next 30 games or whatever, and just see what you have. And once and for all, we find out if Banton actually is a player. Because I know Flint's not one for at least his organization, so I don't know why we keep on putting him out there.
I'll be nice to Flynn, but yeah, I don't think he is the correct fit for the Toronto Raptors as we have seen, and I just.
So diplomatic of you.
I will give some people some credit, like Zazu, who I don't think is here, but I know that he has some believers, and maybe maybe sometimes it's just the situation that he's in. But here, it ain't gonna work. That's what I'll say. And I think with a different coach, still ain't gonna work. So he might need to be gone.
So if we don't pick anyone up, who's the 9th man in this rotation? Then? Is it Koloko?
Can you play?
I used to play a bit. These aren't that good anymore for me to be up there.
Okay,
but I'm not kick it out to me. I know that
we should get McCaw or something, because then at least he'll play.
Oh goodness!
Oh gosh!
The practice player of the century. He had to have been.
I know he had pictures on Nurse. I know it. I have no doubt in my mind. I never forget the day where he had the crazy game in Boston. I was like, oh gosh, we're gonna have like another 4 months of McCaw, and then he got hurt. It's like, okay, well at least I don't have to deal with that anymore. Oh man.
Yeah, it was not ideal. I mean, we will see what happens. That will be there for sure. But I don't know. I would give Banton some run. And see what they have. I do think that Koloko will be up and down with the 905, and I understand that, and it makes sense.
I don't know about that, because if you got a guy like Pirtle who's actually a legitimate center, I think it would be more helpful for him playing against Koloko in practice, or for Koloko playing him in practice, than sitting on a bench with 905, which is always for guards and wings. No center actually could actually play well and actually get a good run playing in any sort of G League team. Just by playing and get his reps with Pirtle. He actually has a guy he can play against in practice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more thinking like anytime you're at home for a longer period of time, and let's say there's going to be a night that Nurse is kind of grumpy and he is not feeling like playing Koloko. Well, or he's only feeling like playing Koloko 15 minutes. There's no reason why the next day he can't go drive down on the Gardner, go play in Mississauga as well, right?
Okay, but would it having Pearl now, isn't that the advantage now that if Koloko plays 15 minutes, if he gets 3 fouls, who cares now?
Oh, I want to see him play like let the kid foul out. Just
You're right.
let him foul out.
Now it's not any pressure in this case that if he gets 3 fouls quickly, that's like, oh, gee, what are we gonna do? Well, Pearl comes back in the game in this case, and if you have pinch, you have Precious back who's back for injury. So like, let the kid just play, and who cares what fouls he gets? Like let him play it out. And I'm sure Pearl could give him some tricks on how to stay vertical in this case and stuff like that, and make sure he doesn't reach and stuff like that, and just let him
probably better than Birch teaching him as well.
Right, yeah, because he has a frame that's similar to his in this case, and kind of figure out how to move his body in this case. He's even more athletic in this case than Pirtle, but Pirtle could probably teach him like how to position yourself when you're playing against certain type of players. In this case here, this is what you should be doing, stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's wise to put him back in the G League at this point, man, because I don't think it serves him any purpose whatsoever. Let him run for 15 minutes every night, man, against second stringers, which is what you want.
So yeah, I think that's fair. I'm always of the mindset of like anytime, like I'm not saying don't play him at the big squad. I'm saying give him as much as he can handle. Like, but I get though if you want it to have more focus, then yeah. I do want to get to some of the comments, but I will say, just to backtrack a bit, in terms of Masai, I'm wondering if management is partially responsible for the lack of role definition. And that's something that I want to ask you guys, because I know we've talked about coaches a lot of times, but I'm wondering if management also has to have that discussion. Because again, like Masai partially at least addressed it in today's presser. So, like, yeah.
Go for it, Beyond.
Oh, I thought the coach will handle it. Just okay. That was more appropriate for you, but fair enough.
I have missed the question. That's why I want to.
Okay, fair enough. I think this plays the discussion we've had before on if the management and the coaching staff are on the same page, and I'm not quite sure they've been on the same page all year. I think a few times Nick Nurse, he can get a tad bit petulant when he's ready. I think he's had a few games where he wanted to prove a point where he wasn't playing certain dudes. They say, like, hey, man, get me some guys who can play. I think now, Masai, by bringing in Pirtle, obviously now pushes guys back one step. So now you actually have at least a decent 8-man rotation. So, to this Zazu's point, there's no way to run or say you can't play guys off the bench now. Because once OG's back now, which he should be back probably even maybe as soon as tomorrow night, like you now have GTJ, Boucher, and Precious, at least those 3 every night coming off the bench. And on certain nights, Koloko might be your 9th guy. There's no reason now he can't say he doesn't have a bench. And he should be able to play those guys every night. And then we're going to start finding out exactly what's going on when it comes to him staggering minutes. Now, as far as the style of play goes, I think also too this one. I think in some ways Nick Nurse won this one. And I think that's part of what you saw at the press conference. Division 6-9 and this and that and everything like that. And like, okay, Nick Nurse said that's the boss. You want to do that? I'll run it. Nick Nurse probably feel like I've always played with center my entire life in this case here. Fair enough. I don't see any coach say like, yeah, I'm down with this. Maybe Don Nelson might be the only one in this case who would say, heck, what the heck? Okay, but everybody else, nah. And I think Nick Nurse would probably say, okay, I'm gonna run the experiment, and here's your experiment, and this is where the experiment has led us. And I think remember a couple of days ago. I mean, it might be nothing, but remember there's like Nick Nurse and Masai were having a little talk behind the press conference. And the 2 that were talking to Jim, I don't know. There might have been some things the last few weeks where I said, all right, fine, I'm going to get you a big. All right. Because obviously to do what you want to do. Because how many times I said this team plays as if they defend, as if they have a center out there to protect the rim. How aggressive they are out the 3-point line. They act as if they have Gobert behind them. In this case, how they attack out the 3-point line. They got like a 6-foot guy, 6'8" guy at the rim, and they're out there attacking guys in passing lanes and all sorts of stuff. Like, guys, there's no one there to wipe away the mistake.
Yeah, it's just frustrating, just to say the least, and I agree with that. To go back, I'm just kind of going through the comments really quickly. Thoughts on Ron Harper Jr. as a addition. One of the problems is he is a 2-way. So if you are going to get a two-way and put him on the roster in preparation for what I presume is some sort of form of playoffs or play-in, you're going to have to convert him. And so do you prioritize converting a Ron Harper Jr. before converting a let's say a buyout candidate like a Will Barton? Personally, I would not. I would not. And you want to see he has come along in the G League, but there's I would want to see him play as a two-way guy and use up all of his time that way before converting him into a regular roster.
I have a question for you guys, for both of you, and even maybe for the people in the chat as well. Has OG's role gotten bigger or the same now that Gary Trent likely goes to the bench and Pirtle in there? Pirtle doesn't need the ball.
Oh, right. We haven't talked about the starting lineup.
Because to me now, there's a chance that his role gets slightly bigger on offense, slightly, with Trent on the bench and Pirtle out there. Pirtle doesn't need ball. Pirtle's getting, I mean this in all kindness, he's getting some garbage points and he's getting those dump offs in the paint where he will put it up. So on the screen and roll, stuff like that. So OG wasn't getting that anywhere else if he got traded today. Not a chance.
No.
This is interesting because I
got to think about that. So I'll let Beyond go first.
I think it actually gets a little worse, actually. Because if you have Pirtle, I mean, you're going to need so much. You're going to maximize that spacing as much as possible. That means OG's got to be at the 3-point line a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I can see OG in this case getting is when he gets downhill and they set up some place for him and Pirtle's the one setting the pick for him. That can be quite effective because he's actually very good like that. If you got him coming on a curl and Pirtle setting some ring crushing pick and he just goes right downhill, that could be a devastating 2-man game with the two of them where he's just coming around curls for him. But more times than not, the ball's going to be with Siakam and Scotty, and you're going to need somebody to space out with Fred's on one side. You got to have OG on the other side. What might happen a little bit more too is actually Siakam's going to be in the corner a lot more. So I hope he's practicing those threes from there. Because I think he too is going to have to adjust to have more opportunity sitting in the 3-point line in the corners for him. I think that's where you should be all the time. Like I don't like when you're shooting threes from the elbows as much, and definitely not dead center. But I think you get him in the corners. He's a half decent 3-point shooter from the corners still. And I hope they kind of put him in that role when Scotty's got the ball in his hand or Fred. But I in some ways I can see OG being more frustrated because he wants to dribble that ball, man. He wants to get his package out. I just think with this team, the package is going to be a lot less.
Well, what was? Go for it. Again.
Sorry, I was just going to say a quick point about the 3-point shooting. You are 100% correct. So I'm just looking at it really quickly right now. Sorry, Coach. And it's a lower sample size, but from I guess the left corner, I'll say Siakam shooting 50% on the year.
Yep.
So there's your answer.
He's pretty automatic from the corners, but they have, because of the lack of offensive diversity, he's forced to put him in positions to shoot threes in other spots. I personally don't think he's ready for it at this point in his career.
Yeah, Coach.
Well, I was just thinking about the whole OG thing that came out about. Well, I want a larger role, but it doesn't matter where I'm at. That to me, that was the warning. That was the hey, Masai, I might still want to stay. I just want a larger role. It doesn't matter where I go. I just want a larger role. That was kind of like he's throwing Masai. What's that phrase?
Throwing him a bone. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so I'm curious to see how this moves or how this works moving forward after the weeks and about a month now of his alleged displeasure with his role on the team. I mean, he's still going to start.
Right. Okay. So let's run your theory right through. I would think if he's hinting at that, he was probably expecting one of the guards to be gone. When both guards are still there. Because he knows it's not going to be Scotty, and he knows it's not going to be Pascal. So it's quite obvious who he's kind of referring to when he says he wants a larger role. Like that. It's either Fred or it's either Gary.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with that. Really quickly, just because there were a couple comments just to get to them. In terms of this, it's just in terms of his usage or whatever. I mean, we don't have to go through like the litany and be super particular 2 hours into this, but I think the idea is, OG was unhappy with his role. Does that change in some sort of way? I do think that there is a chance that we could make it work, but it's tough with Fred still on this roster, which kind of gets to this point. And it's something that I think that there's a good chance that OG is kind of not going to be able to be happy moving forward, but we will see. And no, I'm not talking about higher usage is a bad idea, of course, yes, but I'm saying that there's ways to get him touches and stuff like that. So moving on to a different question. Sorry, just to kind of go back here. What is the ceiling of this team when Otto Porter is healthy? That is a good question. I don't know if we actually will see. There we go. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I just reconnected. So I think that's a good question, in my opinion. And by the way, we'll probably go for 15 more minutes if that's cool with you guys. Because I feel like we're all kind of fading a little bit now. But yeah, what is the ceiling of this team with Otto Porter being healthy? I think Otto Porter helps a lot. He answers a lot of questions that we have had in the past, for sure. So it's definitely something that I think it definitely does help us, but we're not going to see that. I mean, he has a 3-point shooting. He would add another shooter around like a Scotty and a Siakam. One thing that could be interesting, as you were saying, is that 3-man, not the 3-man weave that they do, but the 3-man kind of play where it's they have a ball handler, Scotty and Pascal is involved. I'm wondering if they can find a way to do that with Pirtle as well, with Pirtle being the diver and either Siakam or Barnes being the ball handler. That is something that is interesting because there's a lot of mismatch opportunities there, especially one day when Barnes actually expands his ability and his range with shooting. So thoughts about that?
The coach?
I'd have to see it first play out to see if that would actually work or not. It should in theory. There's a lot of mismatches there, but it's I still feel that shooting is going to be paramount for much of those plays to work. And, I just don't, as much as Pascal's 3-point shot has improved, I just don't know if I would trust those guys yet if there's a 3-point option within that play. Now, if it's about getting a mid-range shot, Pascal, okay. If it's about getting Scotty on the roll or Scotty posting up off the screen, that's Scotty. And with Pirtle, it's just kind of a roll to the basket. Maybe it's a little. He likes to do those little floaters in the lane, about 7-8 feet from the rim. He's pretty good at that. So I'd have to see it. I'd have to see it first before I can make an assessment on it.
Yeah, I think when you mentioned that, it actually brought up another issue too. Like, well, positive in this case because Pirtle's actually a decent finisher around the hoop, which has been a frustrating thing to see all year. Yes. I don't know how many passes from Scotty and Pascal hit a big man. Even the other night, Koloko had a breakaway dunk. I think Pascal said about he back ironed that one. I was like, come on, guys! Like, am I gotta watch one more day of Boucher just tossing up like 4 or 5, doing his Moses Malone impression of 4 or 5 shots up in the rim? because the pad the stat, it's just ridiculous. So that at least would be something that would be curved a bit with Pirtle, where you actually have a guy who can actually finish when you drop it off to him. But it did bring up something with OG that I think might be something where he might lose opportunities on, which is actually one of his strengths is getting down and running down the court on smaller players and posting up quickly. And I'm not sure with Pirtle how that works out.
Pirtle shooting, what is it? Pirtle from within 3 feet, 75% of the season.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's not going to be messing around. So, like, that's something where, there's been too many times. Even Scotty's got, like, the yip sometimes around the hoop sometimes finishing. So, that's going to be something that should help improve our field goal percentage, pretty quickly in this case here. But, yeah, I just don't know. Like, those post-up opportunities for OG is another place where he has a strength. That just going back to him for a second, I don't know where he gets those in this offense now with Pirtle. Maybe
so
the second unit.
So like I looked at his post-ups the other day, and you'd be surprised. Like it's an opportunity for him to get touches, but he's actually not as effective in those either.
Yes,
OG, that is.
Yes, I saw some data. You're right, where he gets there.
Yeah,
but he's at the Boucher problem. Both of them like to make themselves smaller when they get underneath the hoop. They don't go up strong and vertical. They kind of they kind of go backwards or kind of curl back. Is like therefore making it easier to block them all the time. This crouching.
I really do think that it's core strength with him, and what is one of the issues is among others. But I really do think that core strength is one of the problems that he has struggled with. I don't know how you fix that though. I mean, I know partly how you fix it, but because you have to combine that with the balance.
I'm just reading here from the Zach Lowe. It said that Memphis offered 3 first-round picks for OG, but the Raptors wanted a real player as well in any case, which, well, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But even in that scenario, right? Like, say they don't go OG. Maybe you drop down to something like that and take one down. Say they wanted Boucher, for example, for one of those picks or something like that, right? Like there's ways to get something out of it, or some other opportunity with another team where they're willing to take a lower end player, but still one that would be useful for us in this case here. But it seems like Masai was just looking for the home run.
Yep.
He was Aaron Judge. He just wanted to crank one out there, man. And it was either that or we hit him back the dugout, man. That's all it was. He wasn't looking for no doubles or singles. He was like, yo, I'm going straight for the fence.
And it says here, too, Indiana offered 3 first-round picks, but Masai wanted more, but still, like, you just can't.
I mean, Matherin would have been nice.
That would have been no picks.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
But could you not have gotten 2 picks to the guy, right? Or 1 pick to the guy? Like,
can we negotiate?
Right. I don't know who didn't want to negotiate. Maybe it's the other team didn't want to negotiate. Fair enough. If that's the case, so be it. But it sounds to me like he was just like, no, it has to be this. And if not, then we're not talking. Because I can see it. I can see the team, whoever it is, says, I want to give draft picks. Fine. I can see the Raptors say, I want draft picks. I want young players. Fine. Then we kind of move towards the thing. It might end up one guy we could play with and a couple picks. But no one wanted to budge off their side, I guess, in this case here. Like, I mean, New Orleans is interesting because I don't know what New Orleans is doing because, like, they need some dudes that come in there and play right now because, like, the Zion experiment is really on, like, it's on loose footing. Let's put it that way, man. He's always hurt, man.
Their experiment is like a young cult on ice right now. It's like you're gonna fall.
Exactly. The ticker tested yesterday or today. He's out for 3 more days again. I was like, here we go.
No. I know they have the asset. Well, they definitely have the assets, but I guess these teams felt it was too rich. But even the whole Kuminga deal, that's the only deal that I've actually seen that was somewhat reported that they wanted OG, the Raptors wanted Kuminga and more stuff. Well, obviously we're going to try to get Kuminga. Why wouldn't we?
Right.
I don't know what the more stuff would have been. That would have been probably another piece, probably picks moving forward. But it's
so Just to move it along just a little bit, there was another thing, Tyus Jones. I actually said this to Reese before. He was not on the table. Like they weren't trading Tyus Jones. Would have been nice, but this was not an opportunity for us to take advantage of. So,
let me ask you
gotta
guys,
aim lower there.
Let me ask you guys something. Would you take the Zaire Williams and Dylan Brooks package now? Because I still wouldn't.
Not interested in Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, the Dylan Brooks part just kind of like, like, yeah.
Are you taking the Zaire Williams and Danny Green if he had stayed?
Now, well, for OG,
yeah, I'm not. I'm still not.
I'm still not. No.
That
would hurt me a lot because I would say like, wait, we pass up the Portland deal in the draft for this? I would be so mad. It's like, are you kidding me? Hart, the 7th pick, and wherever else we were fighting about Nasir Little. Are you kidding me?
I was on one of the spaces today, Beyond, and I asked Doug Smith a question, and I said, what do you think of Portland? And they got some assets there that can offer. And as soon as I get the words in my mouth, Thibault trade it to Portland, and I'm like, well, this
never mind.
Yeah, and then Gary Payton got traded 1 hour later because I was thinking like kind of what you had said, Kenyon, about getting Sharp, getting Gary Payton Jr. You get a good young talent in Sharp, and you get your perimeter defense just gets exponentially better with Gary Payton Jr.
Yep. I'm sorry. I'm just frustrated. But it would have been a nice deal.
Well, you would have.
Go ahead.
No, and the other pick that they would have got from the Knicks and maybe one of their other later picks because they're in win now mode.
Yeah,
Portland is.
Which is weird because they're in win now, but they got Cam Reddish, which is weird.
Here's the deal for OG I would be open to if it was available.
Yeah.
Hartenstein, Toppin, and say one of the Knicks draft picks. If it got down to that and they said we do a deal, I'd say I'd make the deal. I would be open to that.
I wouldn't now with Pirtle on the team.
No, not now. But say Pirtle wasn't on the team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Pirtle's not on the team. That deal's there, and they say, you know what? That's the deal you have. I would say, yeah, I'll take that. The 2023 pick for the Knicks, plus Toppin, plus Hartenstein. And I think that's better spacing for us offensively. You now have a young player off the bench that can flat out score, and you're going to get pick in the 2020.
Sorry, can you just – I just missed the last part of that besides Hartenstein. Can you just repeat that again?
Yeah. So in this case, if there was no Pirtle trade, and say we're now starting back at the beginning of this, and saying the Knicks and us are negotiating, and the Knicks say, you know what? It started off with 3 picks, and then we say, okay, it gets to a point where it's Hartenstein, Obi Toppin, and one of those picks, the 2023 picks. I would take that deal for OG. Because there was rumors of them trading Hartenstein and Toppin to Utah. Just a couple of days ago, I saw that on like Real GM. So there was some discussion about that. So it makes me feel like those two could have been picked off if you got the right deal.
I like the deal. What the Knicks did today. I liked what they did. They're now legit 9 deep with Hart because they have their 5 starters. Now they got Quickly, they got Josh Hart, they got Obi Toppin, and they got Hartenstein. They're legit 9 deep now.
I didn't count Rose yet.
And I didn't count Derrick Rose. And Grimes. I didn't even say. Did I?
Yeah.
Is Grimes in there?
Well, their starting lineup is what? It's Randall. It's Mitchell if he's healthy.
Yeah.
It's RJ, of course.
Brunson.
Then they're starting in their backcourts with Fournier. Fournier's coming off the bench now.
Oh, sorry, it is.
Fournier
Grimes
doesn't play right now.
If Fournier plays, you get 10 guys.
Right. So Brunson and who's playing? I think right now. I think McBride's playing for them right now at the 2.
It's Grimes, isn't it?
It's Grimes that's starting, right? Yeah. So I even mentioned McBride, right? Like they got like guys all over the place.
They're an interesting team, and they want to consolidate, and maybe that's a summer trade. maybe that. I mean, it is, but because I think we're going to do this stupid dance again,
But you're not going to get that much for OG in the summer. You're just not going to get the same packages.
You won't get the same packages, but you'll still get something, and you'll get better than you would waiting till the deadline. And so, if that is the move, then I think, I think that I still think that he retains some level of value if that is the direction that they want to go in. He retains value in the summer because it's better. It's a different negotiation. Obviously, yes, you're kind of getting a guy to potentially extend him, and so you're like, I'm paying for the right to pay this guy, right? But at the same time, you're also going and there's just more to it, right? And you get to have this guy during your training camp, which is a very, very big deal. You get to integrate him into your team culture early. So I think that that's probably the latest that you could get him. And I just saw this. Quickly would have been bueno. We all like Quickly up here. There's
Quickly, here, I moved off Quickly for a while. That's the reason why I was open to some deals. I've been making deals with Grimes in it because Grimes can shoot it, but even Grimes in this case here, I don't think they would budge on him. So if it went, I was looking at smaller deals. Okay, what's Toppin? It seems like is open to it because Toppin just can't get time. Even Knicks fans say he just can't get on the court. He can play, but he can't get on the court. He's behind all these forwards in this case. Of course, Randall, of course. So he's not going to see any time. And those are the type of guys that I don't understand how the Raptors don't try to go after them in this case here. It's just, even if it's like Obi Toppin trade straight up. So therefore, it's that. You don't need OG for that. You could have found that out some other way. But no.
Yeah, this is an interesting. So I like Trey Murphy. I think everyone up here likes Trey Murphy. I don't think that they would have given up Trey Murphy. So I think that they really like Trey Murphy. But yeah, I think we made. I don't want to say a mistake, but we should have done more moves. Now, I did see something much earlier about us taking a step back. I think it depends on how you're talking about a step back. I'm not saying that this sets the franchise back or anything like that, but I don't see Jakob as a step back move because it makes you better today. You are better today than you were yesterday. And just from a roster standpoint, you converted a dead weight salary. I said dead weight because Birch hasn't played since I can't remember when. And a salary that would have been on the books yesterday, and it makes it much cleaner to sign whichever of the two guys that you're going to sign this summer. Probably going to be GTJ because I think his market was priced out a long time ago, and I think it's very obvious. I mean, I was talking to Samson at the RR thing, and one of the things that we were talking about and we agreed on was the fact that a guy like GTJ, as much as a lot of people are super high on him, he has limitations in terms of his playmaking. It's just something that is never like you joked it. You're like, oh, you're hoping that he becomes Magic Johnson. Is never going to happen. And I agree with this. Like that is the problem is that I think that's why the fan base is frustrated because we were like, okay, well, let's, most people were now in on the team tank thing and kind of accepted our fate. And then, it's kind of like, well,
the East is too muddled that we could tank because for you to tank, you have to move Siakam. That's the only way you're going to be able to tank. Or Siakam has some type of malaria and he's out for 3 months and mysteriously. That was the only other way that was going to happen. And if that didn't happen, no, you're not going to tank in this case here. But I think the one thing that really concerns me a little bit with this move too is we're not really finding out yet what we have in Scotty, and this is really frustrating me because I was so excited to see. Okay, for all the Scotty cult in this case here, let's put it on the table and find out what we got. I was and now it's we're back here in neutral again, and I'm sitting there going geez, I got to sit here and watch this for 30 more games to figure out where I'm going to see him turn it on and off for a couple quarters, and I just want to see what he has to do when he has the responsibility on his shoulders, and that's the unfortunate with no trades being done. Or few trades being done. That makes that a little that possibility a lot less. So we'll see.
I don't blame that on Jakob being here, right?
No,
I'll
I
say
get
that,
that.
and I don't put that on Siakam. I think you had to trade one of the guards to really open up, usage for Scotty and stuff like that. And like we're doing this weird. Take care, Raptor Dan. We'll definitely do more in the future. I don't know if these guys will want to join me in the future, but there will be more videos in general and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do in the future. I just hope that it's very clear that sure, I don't, and I just did the video on Siakam. I hope it is a Siakam team as well, but I think that they really need to invest in Scotty Barnes and make that very clear cut as well in the summer. And that has to, in my opinion, it has to start with Fred. In terms of this, I do want to really quickly, unless Coach, you want to give your thoughts on the last thought. We can do this and maybe cover if there are any other comments that come in. We'll just quickly do them rapid fire.
I'll wait till maybe when you discuss the summer more, because this is a pivotal summer coming for many reasons. But I'll wait if you want to get to the next one.
Okay. So I can cover this one real quick, or you want to wait on this one?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So there's been a debate between some people. What I will say is this. I don't think that they've given up on the positionless basketball, but I think that positionless basketball doesn't necessarily have to look in one way, shape, or form. Orlando Magic are doing positionless basketball in some sort of way, right? The Boston Celtics have positionless basketball. I mean, Marcus Smart technically isn't a point guard, but they made him into a point guard. So I think it really depends on how you do it. I don't think you have to go to a traditional role. I think there's some people that are very focused on it has to be a traditional role, In some ways, Jakob Poeltl is very fundamentally sound. I wouldn't necessarily even call him a traditional center because of the way that he can play make and do things. Although he's closer to a traditional center than what we've had. But I think there's a reason why they drafted Koloko, and I think that ultimately moving forward, they are really truly still invested in it. I think the thing is that we've had too much of a redundancy problem in terms of skill set. If you can find a 6'9" guy, right, or it doesn't have to be everyone 6'5", 6'9", but for example, Beyond, you and I have talked about this. You switch Fred for Shea, okay? Let's just toss Shea out there. Usually I talk about DeJounte Murray, but let's just magically toss in someone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a Donovan Mitchell, okay? Those guys fit this as well. I don't think that positionless basketball actually necessarily has to be a variation where everyone is truly all 6'9" all the time. But it's about the skill sets. And if you have one or two guys that have a different skill set, that is good. Poeltl, from his foot speed, is actually a good defender, can, guard a little bit on the perimeter. I mean, he's definitely not sorry, I almost said DeJounte Murray. He's definitely not like Ayton, where he can only be in drop coverage. So I think that there's a misnomer as to what positionless basketball looks like. And I think that if you have the right center who is positionally sound on the defensive end, it can really open up things for you. On an offensive side, obviously, you want to go away from the redundancy, which is why we're frustrated, which is why they should have maybe looked at like Boucher outgoing or something else, because you want to get something different. Thoughts?
You want to go ahead, Coach?
I mean, I always thought Milwaukee did some positionless basketball for a while, even before we did it. I remember when they brought in Brook Lopez. I mean, you had him shooting threes. You had Giannis basically carrying up the basketball, running the offense in the dunking spot. You had Drew Holiday would be posting up many times. He's a bigger guard, so they're able to do that. It depends on the personnel you have to play positionless basketball. Golden State it's hard for Golden State outside of Draymond really to play positionless, because he's a guy, he can run the offense, he can be the defensive anchor, he can set good screens. He also actually can shoot some threes. Like when he was a bit younger, he's perfect idea of positionless basketball. So in with the Raptors case, you need to have people who can do who can do a little bit of everything, but in today's NBA, if you can't shoot, you can't play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to have the right personnel to do it correctly. The Magic are kind of, in a sense, doing it better right now.
Yes. Yeah. Because they have guys in this case that have different skill sets that are like 6'10". They're not even 6'9". They're like 6'10" and up.
Well, Franz Wagner, for example, he's becoming a very good basketball player. Paulo, Isaac.
He's another 6'10" guy.
Right.
Jonathan Isaac, if he does get playing again,
they all have different types of skills. Bamba in this case, they all have different skills. I mean, what's his name? Right. Wendell Carter, power rebounder. Like they all have a little different thing. They're not all quite the same. The builds are not the same. So and they've done it. You're right. They've done it better in a shorter space of time in some ways than Toronto. And I think that's why the New Orleans deal or potential deal of prying away at least one of Daniels or Murphy would have really helped this team, because they have a skill set that we just don't have. One obviously we know can just flat out shoot. The other one has a great playmaking ability, and in this case here is a pretty good defender as well too. That would have helped in this case here, because we don't have a lot of dudes that could pass. Now Pearl at least will help a little bit, but if you were able to get Dyson Daniels today and the Pearl deal, now we're cooking with something. I would have been sitting here being in a very different mindset today, man. With that, if somehow we're able to pull it off, right? And Daniels could play point, and you have a guy that can move the ball around. So now all of a sudden, now you have Pearl that likes to pass, Scotty that likes to pass, Daniels that likes to pass, and then in this case here, Siakam's a willing passer if the ball's moving like that. In this case here, he has other guys that are passing. He will then kind of roll with whatever the case is. I find that's what kind of his personality. If everyone's gunning, he'll gun. If they're moving in this case the ball, he'll move too. But right now, how the team has been set up, it's just like ISO, ISO, ISO. So it's hard, and they're going to say who to pass it off to. Plus, when he passes, it have to do, they can't shoot anyway. So why would you want to pass that much to some of these guys? I give him credit. He keeps passing some of these guys. I'm just shaking my head like, man, you're better than me, man. Some days I used to throw him out there. Some guys are like, oh my gosh, like when Boucher was in that funk. Oh my gosh, he kept passing it to him. Boucher kept on cranking out the shots. Brick City, man. But he's on fire right now, so we're in a Boucher wave at the moment. So
yeah, he's definitely. I find that's the interesting thing about P is that he's definitely someone who rolls with the punches, with that sense. And so it's usually, I've seen some people suggest that he is ISO ball, and he is. I went through the the film, and sometimes he's a little bit ISO heavy for sure. But there's also I've never seen him start doing that. It's usually like other players will start, and I'm not here to turn that into this type of channel, but like it's just something that I've noticed that is interesting. He's very much, even his personality is very roll with the punches. You were going to say something.
No. I totally agree with that. But yeah, we'll see with the ISO ball. But that's what I think. It'll be interesting how the Raptors draft this year, depending where they land. That's going to be the first interesting part, or where they do land. And then what's available if they change their philosophy on just looking for a long 6'9" guy, or are they actually just going to look for the guy who actually could just make plays? If he happens to be 6'5", so be it.
Yes.
So this is interesting. You know what? The thing about that is, it's 4 guys that can't shoot, but maybe then we could actually get into the lottery.
True, but it's one of those things like when you look at it's kind of like you can't look at it static in this case here, because we say so at the moment, but who knows? Like if you have young players, like Daniels might take off and start shooting like in about 3 months' time, he might not be the same player, right? So like we don't know in this case here, but that team, at least I know you probably do a lot of cutting with that team, which we don't have a lot of movement. But that team there with those 4, you probably have a lot more movement with that team, which will kind of mitigate some of the 3-point shooting issues in this case. And whoever the 5th guy is, I assume he should be able to shoot. So if we're looking at trade for OG in this case with a Daniels deal, then Fred might have still been here shooting threes. So or Gary Trent Jr. So there would still been someone to shoot threes.
All right, we'll do this, and if there's any other questions that come in last minute, then we'll quickly cover it as we're going faster and faster with these. So this might even be the last one, but yeah, I think I agree with this. I mean, it is partially on injuries. It is partially on just like, to be perfectly honest, our bench is low-key been trash this year. At least in my opinion, and maybe you guys disagree with that.
No, there's nothing to disagree about with that.
I'm not going to single any individual player here, but and I maybe calling them trash is too harsh. So I'll be more diplomatic with that. They have not been up to par. Okay, they are not. They have not performed at a level that is impacting winning or would impact winning, even if they did get minutes. So that's part of the problem. But then that goes back to management. Management has to do their job better, and they haven't. And so yeah, I'm not going to put Reese's thing on. That's great.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's you can guess it's not good. Yeah,
brings up an interesting point how the minutes get handled moving forward, though.
it is. But I think I want to say Land's point from before. Pirtle does shore up minutes for guys who are kind of band-aid solutions at center, which helps out a lot. And I think you can maybe, I see Precious getting minutes, yes, at the center, but I think there's a lot of minutes for him to get at the forward spot to back up those guys, especially without Otto. So I think that you could potentially get some serious minutes down for some guys. And if we do that, and if we pick up a buyout guy, I'm curious to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe they actually make the second round.
Well, here's my thoughts on what had happened today. They may have screwed themselves over with Gary Trent. I still think Trent is a decent fit next to Scotty and Siakam moving forward. I get his limitations. He's going to now be coming in off the bench. After, I really don't think he should be going to the bench because he does provide that floor spacing. He's been playing much better once Nurse had started him again. So they're playing the gambling game now on, does Trent want to come back next year? It's different if he had a couple of years left on his deal. That's different. You got him under control, but he can leave next year. He might say, well, I'm in the prime of my career. I'm actually one of the better shooters on this team. I can go somewhere else and start and not have to get that bigger role per se. So this summer is going to be massive for this team, for Masai and Bobby. If they've been twiddling their thumbs, writing research papers, as Beyond has said, well, it's time to get yourself into some action now, because you're going to have a real busy summer. Whatever they're doing with Fred, whatever they're doing with Trent, whatever they're doing with Anunoby, you got to resign Pirtle. I'm not so concerned about Pirtle. He'll resign. Siakam's here. And
Pirtle will probably be, I'm guessing, at max 20. Is probably going to start at 17.5. This is true. What I would say, I'm going to give a hot take, and then I'm curious because you kind of gave me, Coach, you gave me your starting five, and I haven't heard Beyond's, but I'll give mine real quick. If they're serious about competing this year, and even beyond, no pun intended, what I would do is whatever the starting lineup is, I would send Fred to the bench quick and then bring him off the bench. So just like they were doing with Scotty earlier in the year, where they would send him to the bench early and then have him, let's see if Fred can pull a rabbit out of the hat and bring up that bench unit. I think that might not be the worst idea. With Trent, I think if he does end up coming off the bench, I think the best way to say is, look, we will try to make you into the sixth man that you are, and we are guaranteeing your money behind the scenes. So that's what I would say. And yeah, to what Reese is saying is, if he's going to leave anyways, then that's fine. He's still got to make money. I mean, he can opt into his deal anytime. He has a player option, so he's welcome to opt into that. He has a guaranteed $20 million for next year, so there is that. But if he, if Fred wants to conserve his body, and if he's serious about winning, not just about himself, it might be in the best interest of the team to have him be the ultimate six-man guy. That's just my opinion.
I've been touting that from when Precious came back. Like, to me, when it was Precious that was coming back from the injury, the best starting five on this team was Precious, OG, Pascal, Scotty, and Gary. If we wanted to say what our best starting five was with the previous iteration of this team, that was my thing. And Fred coming off the bench, I've always said that. So now with Pirtle, now it's even more likely in my mind that should be the case. But politics in this case is like everything else. When it comes to when it comes to workplace situations, that's just not going to happen right now. Not the ask, and that's the problem they have. This goes at the coach's point. You're asking a 28-year-old in the prime of his career in this case to say, come off the bench, who just came off an All-Star campaign the year before.
Yes,
but now you're right. But now you're messed up the other way. To coach's point, you're asking a guy's 24-year-olds now entering his prime to kind of position him as a sixth man. He's like, what? It's like, no. Because six man doesn't get the same amount of money as starter money, right? Like, there's a psychology around that when it comes to contract negotiations too, right? Like, you'll be a good six man. It's like, no, you don't want that in your name when you're 24. You can shoot it like Gary.
I think Gary would be willing to do it, and he's shown that he is, but I think you have to behind the scenes guarantee him his money, right? Like, let's say it's 25 a year, because it was rumored that he's looking for 20 to 25, which is lower than I was thinking. I would give him 25 a year. I think that will scale well and still be a tradable contract if needed.
I don't worry about Gary's contract, because I mean, the amount of money they're getting this TV deal and this next CBA, like, I'm not sure why everyone's freaking out about 25 million at this point. I'd be like, okay, if you want to lock in on that, because guys like him in about 3 years' time are going to be getting 30 million.
Yeah, so
plus, if not more.
To go to this, doing nothing, I think it costs us. We will find out, because none of us have a crystal ball here, but I think it may have cost us OG. We will find out soon enough, as he might be done with this, but we'll see. It really depends. Like, we're at, because I will say this: winning solves everything. It really does. If they go and they suddenly, I'm not expecting it, but if they really do go on some crazy streak, guys, stop complaining. Because if you are a winner, you will get paid.
I don't know. There's a fat juicy spot opening up in about a year's time in Southern California. A pretty big client that works for the same agency as him.
That's true, and his first name is Rich. So
yeah, just saying.
Yeah. But even still, winning just still does solve everything. Even from, like, because then you could say, I'm a championship, I was willing to come off the bench, all this kind of stuff, and it may not be for us. But I mean, we will see. We will see. The final thing, I'll just kind of touch on this very quickly. Less than the max, I think what you're referring to is less than the super max. I don't think Siakam should take less than the max, and I know other people have put up the whole thing. I think Siakam at a max, and I will be very particular with that wording, a max contract, I think is probably going to scale well into the CBA. So if you're paying him at max a 30% of the cap, it's not going to kill you. I think if it's less than that, if it's more than that, then I don't know. But I don't think that Siakam is driven by money in the same way, because I think he's sorry.
It's a security.
Yeah, I think he's already gotten paid his big money too, right? So it's like I think for him it's like whatever. 35% of them is that's not the max. He needs to get the only way you get 35% is through the super max, and he's not eligible this year. And I think again, it's gonna be tough for him to make a.
Hold on.
Sorry?
Well, maybe not. Like because in 1 week, he had arguably one of the worst weeks of his career last week.
True.
Right? Didn't make the All-Star team. Team it was just kind of falling apart. And then something's changed last week. You guys buddy back now. They're on a little bit of a streak now. There's looks like there's hope here. And now all of a sudden now he may get selected for the All-Star team.
Yeah, but he's not. So with All-Star, you need to be a starter in 2 of 3 years. He has not been a starter.
No, but I'm saying because Durant's hurt, that slot's open. Jaylen Brown won't be playing now. That slot's open. It's quite possible he's going to get one of those 2 slots.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that the All-Star selection doesn't affect his max eligibility.
More about how fast psychologically things can change. A week ago,
okay, gotcha.
Buddy, his team's playing a bit better, and he might probably get on the All-Star team now based on these injuries that happened the last couple of days.
That's true. And it's more exposure too. So if we go on a run, there is a chance. I mean, look, to answer the question, the only way he's getting 35% is through a supermax. Do I think that Siakam is going to sign a supermax? I don't think that he would. I think that he would be amenable to, because he has talked about winning. That's what he's talked about. So I think it's an easier negotiation with him. But yeah, sorry, Beyond.
He's not out of the question either, strangely enough, because if they get on a tear and they get back up to the 6th seed, right? And all of a sudden now, Durant still isn't here yet. So that means the numbers of games starting to affect Durant now as far as all NBA. Last year, Cat was an all NBA guy. We know he's out of the play now. Jimmy Butler's always around that for all NBA. He's not likely going to be involved this year for all NBA unless he really flips a switch, which I don't think that's the case. That slowly looks like he's moving towards Bam's team. All right, so maybe Bam gets one of those spots now instead of Butler. Okay, fine. But then you look around, it's like, who else? AD? Maybe, but AD you can never count for health in this case here. You know,
true.
Gobert's always looking around, but Gobert is not the same player at this point here, so he's out of the play. So all of a sudden you look around and it's like, you know, another guy would be in that forward position, Middleton. You can't count him now because he didn't play for the most of the season. So, you know, Jaylen Brown's out for probably a month with the facial thing now. Who knows how long it takes to come back. So all of a sudden now, if he gets on a tear with his team and he play like lights out and they're in the 6th seed and now he's ahead of Randall, who he'll be fighting for that spot with, all of a sudden now, all NBA might be more possible than people think.
I guess my thing is I think that he would be willing to take less than the 35% max because I don't see him being wired that way. I think he's already gotten his money, whereas Fred is never gotten paid or at least he feels that. I could be wrong because I'm not him.
That's funny, man. I heard Richard Jefferson saying that today, man. He's talking about that with Gary Payton. He goes, that's why you never do a hometown deal with folks in this case here because you never know what's going to happen. And look, you end up back on the same team again. Never pass the money on the table. Take the super max.
True. That's true. That's true.
To figure that out. It's not your job.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, I'll say this: Siakam at a max scales well. At a super max, I'll be honest. As much as I love Siakam, super max is no bueno for me. I think that you're seeing the challenges of the Mavericks building with a super max player. I think there's challenges building with a super max player.
I'm gonna say that. Yeah, I mean. Actually, the press actually could kind of determine actually who wins championship because if the press did give Klay Thompson that super max, if he made that all NBA team, they probably will win this last championship we just saw.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so last question because I'm getting tired and I got to go to bed. And I feel like Coach has kind of been quiet, so he's kind of fading too. So.
Oh no, I'm listening to you guys talk, but I am running on 3 hours of sleep from last.
Your last night, yeah, I'm paying for it now too.
Well, yeah, you guys were crazy, staying up all doing all that kind of nonsense. I'm glad. I was like, what was it, like 12:30? I'm like, I'm going to bed. I think it was before that actually. I think it was around 12, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bed. I'm sorry. But yeah, so what does an OG extension look like? It depends. Does he have Defensive Player of the Year? So this is a good question, right? Like, and this kind of full circle with the Siakam thing. It's like, just because the guy is eligible for it, you can ask for it. Is it offered? That's the real question, right? So to me, I could see even like I could see them offering Siakam more than a the 30%. But like, I don't know. I Coach, see, Coach, you have fans here that know that you were tweeting all night, all this kind of stuff. They're feeling it for you. But it's just funny. I was not. I was in bed. My thing is that, just like Siakam, I don't know if they offer him a supermax. They might offer more than a max. Maybe they say 31, 32%. Would they offer? Let's say OG gets a let's say he gets Defensive Player of the Year next year. That means that he's eligible for the Supermax. That's according to the rules.
No way. That would even make me more sadder or angry in this case. We didn't make the trade last year for him.
But you see my point, where it's like, just because a guy's eligible doesn't mean it's always on the table.
No, I hear you. How much Bridges made in his contract?
That's a good question.
That might be a good starting point because now obviously I know it increases over time. I get.
Okay, I think that's a little low for him, because he's only making 21 million. So I think a fair contract for OG, I'm saying the fairest that I could make it, is probably around 30, but flat per year.
Yeah. A lot of people in this case think he might get north of 30. I could see that possibly, but
you could push to 35, but I think at the very least you have to start it at 30, like where it scales up. Beyond that, I know some people would be super in on it, but
that's why you've been traded today, because no, thank you. It's 30 some odd million for OG and Obi. No, that's no different than the Powell deal, right? They didn't want to pay Powell that money, and what do? They should have done it today. Just get it over with, because they're not paying.
Actually, the Powell deal was a smart move.
Right. Yes. Which is what it should be done with OG today, because they're not paying OG 30-something million.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with OG, though, he does have an extra year on his deal, as Powell did not. That's the only thing that kind of saved him in this regard. To me personally, OG's gone this summer.
Yeah, he has to be.
I think you have to trade him, whether it's at the draft or during the summer months.
What would you do if next year they re-signed everyone?
Oh my gosh.
You look so unimpressed.
Yeah, that might close the shop tonight now. I think that's why.
Yeah, that's everyone's cue.
We have faith in our players. We have faith in them individually, and I'm just like, come on, just stop, just stop with the madness. It's okay.
The Titanic with the band playing, and it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Exactly. Anyways, I'm going to bounce. Take care, everyone. Thanks you two for joining, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Yeah. See you guys.
Have a good sleep. Peace.
I probably need it.
Yeah.